then go and take a program from HBCU and revamp that program, and then go to Colorado. And obviously, it's early in the season, but to make a statement like this, just him as an ambassador to sports altogether, I don't really think there's anybody we can compare to this.
I mean, we've always known that Dion was special, but he is showing himself to be special, like in a way that I'm not sure. Like the way this trajectory is working is that I'm not sure if there's been a player that was as great as he was that is turning into the coach that he is turning into, or
Wait a
even the
minute, wait a minute.
executive.
Hold on. People are saying there's no sound. Is there no sound?
I hear it.
Okay. I want to make sure people, yeah, because a bunch of people are saying there's no sound. I know we're having a whole conversation. I don't want, it said the audio. Hear what I'm saying right now.
Say something.
Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. Can y'all hear anything?
Can you hear us? Yep, I'm good.
People hear us. They said raise the mic volume.
Raise the mic volume.
They don't hear you, Mike.
Yeah, they said I got mic issues.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Is my shit plugged in? They said Mike's mic is off.
Mike's on red.
Mic check. Do y'all hear me now?
Give us one moment while we work out our difficulties, team. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Click like and subscribe to the channel even though we're having technical difficulties.
They said, Coop, you sound great.
I always sound great. I need you all to tell me that.
Do y'all hear me now? When y'all say
appreciate that.
yes, it said Mike is low. Mike has no
Tell me
mic.
I sound great. I always sound great. Stellar stuff you get out of me.
I know they're saying they hear me on the end in here. Do you guys hear me? Say yes, Mike. We hear you.
How many people we got in the chat? What's going on?
Okay, it said perfect. All right, let's go. All right, so yeah. To rewind that, let me go back, and I'm sure that people didn't hear anything that I said, but I want to start this over though. When I think about Deion Sanders, I think about everything that he's been in sports. We obviously know his collegiate career in Miami. We know what he was able to do, on the NFL level. We know what he was able to do on the Major League Baseball level. And we also know now what he was able to do at HBCU, turn that program around, and then go to Colorado. And I know it's early on in the season, but to win a game like this, what does this mean when we talk about Deion as just an overall sports figure? Because I can't think of anybody to compare this to be honest.
Well, no, I think that's what I was kind of like alluding to before we were having the mic issues is that, well, I don't think there's ever been a person that was this great as a player that has proven to be this great, like in their next role as a coach, as an executive. Like the person that comes closest to mind is Larry Bird, actually, as a coach.
His team was stacked in Indiana.
So was Phil Jackson's team. So were
No,
Pat
I feel
Riley's
that, but I'm talking
teams.
about in relation to Deion.
Oh,
Deion started from the bottom of the HBCU. I mean, let's just be
I can
perfectly
feel
honest.
you, but Larry Bird is the first person that comes to mind
Yeah.
as somebody who's all-time great that was actually like great as a coach. Deion is proving to be like something else. It's like I was saying, TCU was a 21-point favorite. They won by 3. That's a 24-point swing for a man's head coaching Division I debut or
Right.
FBS 1 debut. That's unheard of. Like, it's literally unheard of. I'm even surprised like a little bit at the outcome, but it's like, you know what he is? He's not just one of the greatest athletes who ever lived. He's not just one of the greatest football players who ever lived. He is really shaping up to be one of the best men of this generation.
Period.
Because when you're a college football coach, you're not just coaching X's and O's. You're literally responsible for leading these young men into adulthood while maintaining the balance of the academics and the athletic. And he's proving to be masterful at it. And most people as great as him aren't masterful at it because they're great and they don't know how to get on people's level and understand what people's limitations are.
Yep.
So I don't think people understand how like astounding a pull off for somebody of his stature is. Like, I was thinking, it's like, Mike, he's probably one of the 10 best NFL players who ever lived.
Period.
Period. And he's doing this with college kids first at a HBCU that was dilapidated financially
Yep.
and with just human resources and with just consistent above average standard living conditions.
Right.
And he thrived in that environment. He's gone to a school now that's pretty much been in the doldrums, Mike, since we were teenagers. Like Colorado really hasn't been good since like the mid 90s. I know they shared a championship, I believe, in 1990. So it's been a long time since they've even been a prominent. Like the last time I remember them being relevant is when they had Cordell Stewart.
Yeah.
That was
CJ Kidd with the super chat says, "Is AZ's Life's a Bitch verse better than Snoop's G Thing verse?" I think the verse may be, but the appearance is not, and we're gonna get to that. Mike
we didn't say
H with
best
the
verse. We said best appearance. Correct.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Mike H with the super chat says, "Colorado and Prime are the new Hoyas and John Thompson." I love it. I love that comparison. Thumbs up in the chat. Thumbs up in the chat. We over here
Hey.
on a Labor Day putting in a little bit of work.
Look, see, this is what I'm saying. John Thompson. Oh no, dope ass NBA player, but not Dion in football.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
No, definitely.
It's like we've never seen somebody this great be this good as a coach.
Right.
Jerry
Ever.
West as an executive.
Jerry West is a great executive. Yeah,
Yes.
I give you that.
And when he retired, when Jerry West retired, he was a top 5-ish player. So
He has an eye for talent, but it's a little different, like you said, with the fact that Dion's able to cultivate these young talents and get them to follow his lead. I remember one of the things really stuck out to me when Dion was actually a commentator. I remember this is when Beast Mode wasn't talking to any media, and he was just giving them one-word answers or whatever. And Prime went down there, hollered at him, he's like, "Hey, they had a whole conversation." It's like that's what he brings,
Here's
that
what-
level of respect.
it's not just a level of respect. So let's go to some intangible things. Well, here's what he has on the side and why people are always going to talk to him. He's the best cornerback who ever lived, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. I don't want to hear that Rod Woodson, Dion. Dion
Yeah.
shut down half a field in his prime, like a 7-year stretch where you couldn't throw on his side of the field.
Yeah.
But of all the greatest players, Mike, he's the most charismatic. He's the most personable. He's the most affable. Jerry Rice is not as personable and as affable as Dion. Nice guy, not as personable as affable. Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Barry Sanders, in my opinion. Like, no, none of these guys are Dion in terms of the personality and the charisma outside of the game. And so he hits different. That's what I mean is it's like there aren't too many guys walking around like this. Like he's a special, special guy. Like let's go to even like former great players that have been like impactful social activists. It's almost like he has a LeBron, Michael Jordan level charisma for an
I would
NFL
say
player.
even more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I really would just compare him more towards an Ali. He's super flashy, but
Yes.
has all types of fundamentals and knows the game. Like I think in football, in all sports, for the most part, we expect the flashy person to just be thriving on talent and not their knowledge of the game or not being able to put in that work. You don't have a practice moment with Dion. You know what I mean? Like the AI moment and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And usually with guys who come off that flamboyant and that, flashy, you do have a lot of that. I mean, I love Michael Vick, but yeah, Michael Vick made it very known that he didn't go home and study the playbook.
Said he threw it in the trunk of his car.
Exactly, and Dion's not that.
No,
And
Dion's not
he's
that.
one of the few guys, and like I said, Ali's probably the only person I could think of that was just that flashy, but that fundamentally sound and knew his sport to that level. And he's showing it as a coach. I mean, it extends from his personal knowledge. He's able to expand on this knowledge and give it to the next generation. I think that's what makes him different than any of his contemporaries.
Do you think he's NFL bound?
I think with his son going to the NFL, I could see him coaching his son.
Or do you see the path for him making it after? Because he's not going to stay at Colorado.
I think he can do whatever he wants.
Like, do you see him as a successor to somebody like a Nick Saban at Alabama? Do you see something like that in the cards for him, or do you see an NFL job for him?
I think.
Because he's.
I mean, where he is with Colorado
he's
right
about to
now.
do the thing at Colorado for the next few years.
I was
going
gonna
to
say
be the slide.
where he is with Colorado. If that program continues to build, I don't see him going to like an Alabama or anything. I think he would go to the NFL or
Okay.
just stay at Colorado
Okay.
because I think he can build this program into a real contender.
Like a national championship
Yeah.
contender.
Yeah, so I don't think that he needs to even jump ship anywhere else.
See, this is what I mean. He's Deion Sanders, so he walks into a 17-year-old's living room and he's like, "Hi, I'm Deion Sanders."
You can show the highlights. I mean, they can look him up.
I mean, Google me.
Yeah.
It's like, you know who I am, right?
They got documentaries on them. CJ Kidd with the super chat says the title says verse, not appearance on the video. All right, I'll change that. In that case, as a verse,
we gotta be consistent. Yeah.
yeah, as a verse is better than Snoop's. AZ's verse is better than Snoop's is what he meant. J.I. Designs says Joe Torre comes to mind. He was a good baseball player and a great manager.
It's not Deion. That's what I'm saying. Deion's a top 10. Mike, who are the 10 greatest football players of all time? Like Tom Brady, Lawrence Taylor,
Jerry Rice,
Reggie White.
I think Joe Montana's still in that conversation.
I think Joe Montana's still in there.
Peyton Manning, I would say, is still there.
I think Barry Sanders in that conversation. Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Deion.
Yeah, Deion's in that conversation.
Yeah, like
I think Deion.
That's what I mean.
Like,
like none of those guys are Deion. Like the person outside of the football.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's duly noted. I think it's duly noted that even when Michael Jordan went to go play baseball, he was trying to be like Deion. And he said this. He even said this on Last Dance, that, Deion playing two sports was an inspiration to him. I think he was wearing some Deion's, too, I've seen. I think Michael Jordan has a high respect for Deion Sanders, as he should, because this guy's elite. Him and when we were growing up.
Their peaks are around the same time, so.
Right. When we were growing up, when we talked about the best athletes, we always talked about Bo Jackson and Deion. That was the conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, back in that day, it wasn't Jordan, it wasn't Barry Bonds, it was Bo Jackson and Deion.
Even all respect due to Bo. And Bo was a phenomenal football player. Like, Bo had one season, Bo played 8 games, ran for 900 yards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, Bo's the deal. But it's like, well, Bo Jackson isn't. Well, he's not Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, or Jim Brown. Like, he's not like the all-time best at his position. There are plenty of guys ahead of Bo Jackson. Maybe in a vacuum he's up there, but even when he was around, I never thought he was better than Barry Sanders. No, Deion is the best.
I think Bo was just staggering in the ability that we saw. Like, the eye test with Bo was crazy.
Yeah, the eye test.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Like, when you go back and look at the stats and this anatomy, it's still amazing. But what we saw out there when Bo Jackson was out there breaking bats on his knee, running up a wall horizontally, like, no, it was definitely something else.
No, he's the truth. But what I'm saying is, how about this? He's a better baseball player than Deion, but as a football player, it's like I never looked at Bo Jackson. It's like, oh, well, he's the best ever at his position, even in a vacuum. Even in a vacuum, Barry Sanders is better than him. Nobody in a vacuum.
Mad Max has something to say about that.
Nobody,
Mad Max. Go ahead.
Mad Max don't know anything. Even in a vacuum, like, Deion's best in a vacuum and in, like, the full picture. You know what I mean? Like, period.
Mad Max with the super chat says Barry Sanders is not a top 10 football player ever. He is not even top 3 running back.
Okay, so only 2 NFL running backs in history average 5 yards a carry. That would be Jim Brown and Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders has actually like modern day era, it's the highest yards per game average. It's 5. Like nobody else. Like not Walter Payton, not like give me a running back. LaDainian Tomlinson, no. Adrian Peterson, no. Emmitt Smith, no. Emmitt Smith with his offensive line didn't average more yards per carry than Barry Sanders. And had Barry Sanders played more than like 10 NFL seasons, the rushing record would be so like egregiously out of reach.
Well, we talk about work and it's Labor Day, and I think that should be the overall theme of this show. How do you justify putting Barry Sanders over Emmitt Smith when Emmitt Smith put in the work? He really did.
Emmitt Smith will tell you that Barry Sanders is better. And there's actually a documented interview of them sitting next to each other and Emmitt Smith saying that he's better than.
Objectively, though. Could you say that?
Yes.
Why would you say that Barry Sanders is better than Emmitt?
Because in their prime, go look at the numbers. Barry's numbers are better.
In
the story.
Emmitt outlasted him.
But those years that Emmitt played after that, those aren't like great years. That's a war of attrition that he won. It's not like those numbers were phenomenal. Barry Sanders' numbers are phenomenal from beginning to end, from start to finish. Never had a bad season.
But he quit early, though.
He quit 10 years in. That's not early for an NFL career. Average NFL career is 3 years, so he played an appropriate length of time to be considered. Played 10 years as a running back.
What do y'all think out there? Y'all got Barry Sanders over Emmitt Smith?
Got 15,000 yards in 10 years. Nobody has that.
It's incredible.
Most 50-yard runs. Yeah, that's him.
He could stop on a dime.
Highest yards per game average since Jim Brown, which means post-1970, nobody has a higher rushing yard average per game, with whatever the minimum carries is to qualify as Barry Sanders. Like, this is not a conversation about Emmitt Smith. I'm sorry.
Speaking
it's a
of
Walter
things-
Payton, Jim Brown conversation. It's not an Emmitt Smith conversation.
Speaking of things that we may never see again, the Atlanta Braves, and we'll talk about
We've been
some
whooping
hip hop
everybody's ass.
as soon as we
Yankees
finish
suck.
this one. But the Atlanta Braves, man, like what they're doing right now and what Acuna's doing from the leadoff batter position, well, you got 31 home runs and like over 60 stolen bases.
First player in Major League history to do that.
I don't know if we're going to see that again. I think he's going to end up with about 40, 80, to be honest.
I told you he looks like the.
And to be a leadoff batter doing that?
Looks like Barry Bonds for the Pittsburgh Pirates, like, except for like he's proven to be a better hitter because he's hitting like 340 too. Like, he's hitting 340. He has over 30 home runs and over 60 stolen bases. He's the MVP of this league. We have the best team in baseball. I expect us to go to the World Series and win the World Series. And I like to remind all our New York watchers that both of your teams suck. The Yankees suck. The Mets suck. I love it. Can't wait to see the Dodgers in the playoffs. Going to wax them again. Hate the Dodgers, too.
Well, the Dodgers beat us yesterday.
Nobody cares.
Good game.
See y'all in the playoffs.
Like our first 6 batters have like over 120 home runs or something. That's more than like 17 clubs out there. I think that's pretty good. Mad Max with the super chat says, like, stop overrating Barry. Jim Brown was better. OJ was better.
Nope.
So was Walter Payton.
Nope.
I can say arguably Ed and AP over Barry. Barry, he said Barry. Style good for a regular season, not postseason. Terrell Davis is better than Barry.
No.
He's
just talking out
what
the
would
side
you
of his
say
neck at
about
this
the
point.
fact that, we don't have a lot of playoff heroics from Barry Sanders, though?
That never stopped us from calling Barry Bonds the best baseball player ever, and I did it.
Well, he does hold the record for the most home runs in the postseason, so that could probably overshoot that.
Does he have a World Series ring? And
does,
outside
but
of that
that's
one
baseball.
run, I mean, Mike,
That's
as a Braves fan, Pittsburgh Pirates and the Atlanta Braves played when Barry Bonds was the MVP on multiple occasions, and it did not go well.
we
for
had
Barry
better.
Bonds.
We had a better team than the Pirates.
I don't actually believe that
Oh, we
to be
did.
true. No, Mike.
Yeah, you did.
Those guys that we had weren't proven like that. You're looking at it from a Braves fan perspective and not from the realistic perspective that a lot of the guys that we have were young talent coming to fruition. They had the more talented team because they had the more top-end and high-end players.
We had the
They
better
had the better
pitching.
record than us sometimes, too.
Yeah, we had the better
They had the
pitching, though.
MVP of the league.
I mean, but in baseball,
They had a
it's-
Cy Young award-winning pitcher.
This
Like,
is what's different.
They had
though.
Bobby Bonilla, too, who was a 30-home
Yeah,
run,
yeah.
100
Andy
RBI
Van
guy.
Slyke and all those guys.
Yeah,
But
they had a team.
The thing is, in baseball, it's not like basketball or football where it's like you can just keep handing the ball to Barry Sanders and you can kind of dictate the game in that way. A baseball player can only hit when it's their turn to hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a collective every night.
Okay, so here's how I look at it when it comes to Barry Sanders, and right quick, and we can just go ahead and go to Mad Max with this. With the exception of O.J. Simpson, no great running back played with the dilapidation of talent that Barry Sanders played with. Jim Brown played with a lot of Hall of Famers. Walter Payton played with a lot of Hall of Famers. All these guys that Mad Max made, Terrell Davis played with motherfucking John Elway
Yeah.
and Shannon Sharp.
Yeah. KC1 says,
those
imagine
are top
Barry.
5 players at their positions all time that Terrell Davis had. Don't kick that Terrell Davis shit. Walter Payton and Jim Brown had Hall of Famers. Jim Brown and Barry's numbers are comparable. Jim played 9 seasons, about 12,000 yards, 5.2 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Barry played 10 seasons, 15,000 yards, 5.0 yards per carry. The Jim Brown conversation is relative. The Walter Payton conversation is relative because Walter Payton's a better blocker and receiver out the backfield than Barry. The other dudes is not a conversation.
KC1 with the super chat says, imagine Barry with the Cowboys line.
Thank you. You know how many Hall of Famers Emmitt Smith played with? Troy Aikman.
Mad Max says,
Michael Irvin.
we
Deion
saw
Sanders.
Mad Max says, we saw Shady McCoy be a knockoff of Barry. That style don't win games for real. It's just great to look at. 007 with the super chat says, Coop, keep that same energy when y'all don't win the chip. I'll be
man.
tuning in. ATL is good for a chip every 25 years. Can't wait another 23. Just saying.
You'll be tuning in.
I will say
You'll
this,
be
man.
tuning in because your team won't be playing.
This is one of those Golden State Warrior situations. We better win this one.
No, Mike. I told you last year when we won, I told you I expect for us to go on a run and win 3 of these next 5 years.
We should win this
And
year.
so we've won 1. We got out the other year. I expect us to win this year. I expect us to win next year.
LP with the super chat says, name a running back who has a better cast around than Emmett. I mean, I don't know if you
I'm
can.
going to say this again. All these guys that are all-time great running backs, Played with multiple Hall of Famers. What Hall of Famer did Barry Sanders play with exactly, Mike? Go ahead. Because I can name you the Hall of Famers those other guys played with.
I feel you, but it still becomes one of those things where it's like, okay, well, is this a regular season thing? Or, I mean, obviously he played in Detroit. So, I mean, that part's not his fault. But we can't hold that against the people who actually played on squads that made it to those moments and were able to give those moments.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, how about this? Thurman Thomas had a way better postseason career than Barry Sanders did. Nobody thinks Thurman Thomas is better than Barry Sanders.
Huh. Thurman Thomas had a great run. Let me get to the super chat real quick. J.I. Designs with the super chat says, I would compare Barry and Emmett's peak in their prime. So Barry takes that easily, in my opinion.
It's easy. That's what I mean. It's not even conversational.
I feel you, but it's like, again, even when we're talking about hip-hop or whatever, it's like we're judging people by their primes and not the totality. And I think when you start bringing in the totality, it's not really fair to what Emmett was able to accomplish.
No, nobody's trying to knock Emmett. Here's the reality of the matter. They literally played in the same stratosphere for 9 years together. That's all you need to know. Like one of them was succinctly better than the other. One of them had a succinctly better team, and the other guy was still better. It's not conversational, Mike. Nobody cares about the rest of that. Their careers literally lined up. Barry came out one year. Emmett came out the next year. Go look at the numbers for the time that Barry was there. It's like this. It's like Peyton Manning's numbers were always better than Brady's in a vacuum. At no point did people think that Peyton Manning was better, really, outside of people who just looked at the numbers and was like, well, look at the numbers. It's like, go look at the players.
But it's the moments, too. Like I said, I mean, we could,
but
even with the numbers.
For not getting the opportunity because he didn't have a good team. You can't hold that against him.
I understand that, but you can hold against. You can't
like
hold
this
that.
Isn't basketball.
Hold on.
He's not a quarterback. You're talking about running backs like they're quarterbacks.
Hold on, Coop.
That's
you can't hold that against the guy who did have a good team and had to show up in those moments, because it's not like Emmitt Smith went out there to get on the Cowboys team. He was on the team.
He was drafted.
Yeah, so it's like,
Johnson.
is it his fault that he did everything he needed to do and the organization did everything they needed to do? And he's past his contemporary.
That's fine, but that doesn't make him better just because he stayed around longer because he was with a better organization and didn't get hit as much.
I'm just saying he performed in moments that Barry didn't get to see. That has to stand for something.
No, it stands for something, but it doesn't make him better. And you want to know why? Because he's not the quarterback. You're talking about Emmitt Smith like he's a quarterback. The quarterback is the one that bears that weight of that responsibility in football. The running back, it's about how you produce and what you see from the running back. What Barry Sanders produces, it's better than what Emmitt Smith produced. Period. Like, period. It's not conversational. Go look at the numbers. Mike, go look at the Monday Night Football game where Barry Sanders ran amok on the Cowboys for 194 yards.
Matt Max of the Super Chat says, what was Elway winning before Terrell? Walter was the offense. Barry do that tap dancing-ish and gets runs for losses in real games.
John Elway went to 3 Super Bowls.
He said this is like saying A-Rod is better than Brady. And no, this is like saying Aaron Rodgers is better than Brady.
Has a talent, he is. He just
but
hasn't
that doesn't
produced.
matter.
He just hasn't produced.
I think we kind of look at Barry in a vacuum.
Y'all keep on bringing up a quarterback. Mike, a 10-year run is not a vacuum. Why are y'all talking this way?
Well, I mean, because it didn't get them to the playoffs.
That's an organizational thing. That's not the player. That's what I'm saying.
What's the best record the Lions had while Barry was there?
Probably 10-6 or 11-5, I would think.
Like, because what's the issue, I guess I would ask? Like, if you have the best, one of the best running back talents ever as an organization, what's the issue here?
But organizationally, Mike, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Historically, running backs have never impacted winning championships like that. Go look at the last few Super Bowl winners, Mike. This is the way it is. Walter Payton only won 1 Super Bowl, Mike, and he didn't even score a touchdown in the game that they won. Refrigerator Perry scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl that Walter Payton has. Not even Walter Payton. Running backs don't impact championships like that. It's never been that way.
I feel like most of the, at least in Atlanta, the teams that we had that were good, we had a really solid running back.
And did we win a Super Bowl?
We went.
Did we win?
No. Well, we had Jamal Anderson, though. I mean, I noticed it in the playoffs.
First of all, we lucked into that Super Bowl because Minnesota's kicker couldn't kick when
yeah,
it
the
mattered.
kicker missed that. I remember that. I mean,
Stop making it seem like that team was like that. We all knew we was losing that Super Bowl, Mike.
well, this is what I was gonna say. I
And
mean,
it was
we had
28-3,
Chris
and
Chandler
it was
as
28 to
the
3 for God's
we
sake.
had Chris
So let's
Chandler
not
as the
bring up-
quarterback. We had Chris
It's
Chandler as the
28-3.
quarterback. I feel like in the playoffs when the game slows down, running backs become very, valuable to those wins. I mean, we could look at the Patriots' first couple of squads. It wasn't about the quarterback play.
Mike, in the last 23 years, if I'm not mistaken, has in the 2000s, I believe only 2 teams have won the Super Bowl with 1,500 yards rushers, Mike, in the last 23 years. Corey Dillon with the Patriots.
Yep.
And I think
I remember Corey Dillon. Shout out to him.
I mean, hold on. I'm sorry. Only 2 running backs that have ran for 1,500 yards in the last 23 years have even gone to the Super Bowl, Mike. I think it's Sean Alexander for the Seahawks and Corey Dillon with the Patriots. And Corey Dillon's the only one to win one. So in the last 23 years, only one running back that's run for 1,500 yards in that season has gone and won the Super Bowl, Mike. That gives you all the evidence you need to know about the impact of it. So I don't want to hear that Emmitt Smith shit. I don't want to hear that longevity shit.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. here.
I hear you, but you wanted evidence. There's your evidence. It just took a minute for my brain to process.
Midget Mike with the super chat says, yo, fellas, we're going to get that 2023 yearbook. You know what?
Giving y'all no yearbook.
No. I think eventually we could bring the yearbook back. But even if we did a yearbook in 2023, and you and I were just talking about this off air, what exactly would be in 2023's hip-hop yearbook this year anyway? I think it will probably be a lot of hip-hop 50 type of celebrations and things like that. And I know I've been going through some of our comment sections. People think that we're being very nostalgic in some of our conversations. We're talking about rappers who don't put out music. I think they're talking about Jay-Z or whatever. But what music are we missing in 2023 that, that I guess was changing things and shaking things up? Has hip-hop really changed since 2020, I would say? Or are we just kind of still riding the 2020 wave in hip-hop right now? I'm just asking questions.
I mean, hip-hop changes like the wind does, so it's like we don't know when the change is coming.
It has to be somebody to bring forth the change.
There's usually a confluence of circumstances that cause tipping points. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So rap is no different. So it's like if you're talking about is this the tipping point? Like, no.
The thing is, man, like in 2020, when you and I started doing this show, what Griselda had going on at the time, West Side specifically with Pray for Paris, and then Conway follows with From a King to a God, and then you had Alfredo with Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist. Those guys were changing the trajectory of what was going on, right?
Yes.
And then Nas and Hit Boy went on their run, which is a change in itself. The fact that you got the older guard and some, I don't want to say the new guard because Hit Boy's been around for a minute, but just having that combination and doing what they're doing. But that's still more so on a consistent level of what they're doing. They didn't really change the culture of what was going on because I would say some of the gatekeepers didn't allow them in their music to change what hip-hop looked like.
So here's how I look at that. This is what I mean about the tipping point being a confluence of things. It's like, well, I feel like what Griselda did was made those older New York hip-hop MCs proud and feel like that their work had actually influenced and impacted the next generation.
Right.
So it reinvigorates somebody like a Nas to go get with a Hit Boy.
Facts.
Even though Black Thought is not from there, he's considered to be an East Coast MC, it inspires Black Thought to put in some of the work. When they're hearing these guys spit on a certain level and they know that they are some of the reasons why that this is happening, they then jump in that and help tip the scales of that, hearing an Alfredo, hearing They Pray for Paris, hearing Conway's lyrical performance on From a King to a God. It gets them here, trading bars with Benny on Crowns for Kings on Plugs I Met. You know what I mean? Like
right.
This is the inspiration, and so it's like, but that's only like a piece of the movement. You know what I mean? Because there's a whole other younger generation that has their own movement. And,
right.
And it tends to move with the youth. Real quick, 007 just texted you too. He texted.
Yeah, I saw it.
So these are the running backs who have won Super Bowl MVP in a season. Mike, this is what I mean about how running backs don't impact it like that. The first one is Larry Zonka in 1973. Franco Harris in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
John Riggins in 1982. Marcus Allen in 83. Otis Anderson in 1990. Emmitt Smith in 93. And Terrell Davis in 97. So literally, in all the Super Bowls that have been played, Mike, where are we at? We in 50-something now?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
LP with the super
Want
chat
any more
says,
evidence that they don't impact the game like that, Mike? And none of these guys on this list are fucking Barry Sanders.
It's true. LP with the super. Well, I would say Emmett's close, but
Emmitt's closest, but he's not, Mike.
yeah. LP with the
I'm gonna pull
super
up the
chat
interview,
says
Mike.
Megatron retired too early. He said Lions were horrible. J.I. Designs with the super chat says, I am disgusted by some of these Barry takes. Just watch the tape and compare the teams. There's no discussion.
That's what I'm saying.
Tater Tots with the super chat says Nipsey's feature on Welcome Home by The Game. I love Nipsey's. Listen, I'll talk about Welcome Home. That's an underrated record. I think that Born to Rap is an overlooked project.
That's the best song on that album.
It is. I like Born to Rap. Again, I think most
I'm gonna
of
go listen to Born to Rap
I think
again.
the Game's projects get overlooked because the way people feel about the Game himself. And I think he's very collaborative heavy. But other than that, man, we should be holding what he does higher than we do. Mad Max of the super chat says, let's be for real. In the playoff game, you'd rather have Emmett over Barry because he's not trying to go do all of those MJ dance moves in the backfield. He's rushing for real yards.
Let's have a real conversation since people think they know football so much.
I thought we moved on.
No, we haven't. Here's what people understand. Go look at Barry Sanders' tape at Oklahoma State. Barry's not doing all that juking. You want to know why? He's hitting the hole straight. You want to know why? Because he has an offensive line. Now, Mike, when you hike the ball and hand the ball to the running back, and the type of team that you have, there are usually 1 to 2 men that are already in the backfield when you receive the ball, Mike. Well, that's where all the juking and all the moving and all that comes from because there wasn't a hole. If you give Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, offensive line, he rushes for 2,000 yards in like 2 or 3 or 4 of those seasons because he gets to hit the hole and doesn't have to do all that dancing. This is what I mean about the players that you play with. Emmitt Smith ran behind the greatest offensive line we have ever seen, Mike. Are we clear on that?
Yeah. Midget Mike with the super chat says, what's your favorite hip-hop moment as a fan? First one that comes to mind, I mean, it's so many, is Up in Smoke Tour. Dr. Dre comes out there in the Lowrider with that remake of Let Me Ride or whatever, and when that beat drops, you know, the hydraulics hit and all that, and Dre and Snoop come out the car. It's a crazy moment. It's kind of like the mothership for, you know, Parliament Funkadelic when that was coming down.
What year?
On the Mothership Connection.
What year was that?
That was 99. Had to be either 99 or 2000 or something like that.
What's the tour that Snoop did after that? Or did he do it
was
again?
it Smoking Grooves or something? I don't know.
No, not Smoking Grooves. I was about to say my hip-hop memory is actually like my pops took me to the Snoop Dogg show at Lakewood Amphitheater. And it was like the first time, I didn't meet my pops till I was 19. So it was like the first time that it was for my birthday. He took me for my birthday. So it was like the first time I spent my birthday with my pops. And we went to the Snoop show. And I was like, this dude knows me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like he was probably thinking like about all the lost time and like, well, what can I do?
Right.
It's like, well, this nigga love rap. You know what I'm saying? Take him to the Snoop show.
We talking about game changers, man. That's a great memory, by the way.
Yeah.
And
we kicked it all night. My pops stayed up till like 7 in the morning, like, and outlasted me and everything. My pops is a different dude. Like I was waking up like on the floor. He's like, he's like, you up now? I was like, this dude different.
I just want to. I was watching the interview you did with Jesse. I love Jesse, which is a great interview. Y'all need to check it out. It's on the channel right now. Y'all were talking about, just influences and inspiration and game changers, pretty much everybody that y'all spoke about. And I'm just looking, as we're hip hop journalists at this point, where are the game changers? Like I said, when we did this show or started the show in 2020, there was a lot of game changing going on. And I understood that, okay, hip hop right now looks very different than it did in 2019 even, or even 2018. But now it's kind of on the next person to change things up. And I don't feel like anybody's kind of taking on the mantle. And I don't think that the mainstream dictates that anymore. So it feels like everybody's kind of in flux. It feels like the people who aren't mainstream, they have their consistent audience. They do what they do for their audience, the currencies of the world, You know what I'm saying? The Conways of the world. Everybody is doing, they're servants in their market. But when the utopias come, it's kind of underwhelming.
It's not kinda.
And you know what I'm saying?
no
And
kinda.
again, Rodeo's celebrating 8 years today. So, Travis isn't a new guy. I don't think he's at the point where he can kind of dictate the terms. Like, who's going to be the next person to kind of, I guess, take over the year? Like, who would we say, you know what, 2023, that was their year? Can we even identify that?
I don't think this is an identifiable year like that.
Mm-hmm.
The game needs some shaking up a little bit.
It does.
Somebody young needs to come in and shake it up.
It's wide open. Like, this reminds me of like a 97
It's actually,
going into a 98
it's
type
like,
thing.
I think this is more like a 90-91 situation. It's like, no, the game could use, we're not going to get Tupac, but we could use a transitional figure right now like Tupac. Like, Tupac is the transition from the old guard to the new guard. We could use that transitional figure right now. Not to that level, because there's never going to be another him in my estimation. But we could use somebody, even, like, how about this? Mike, you remember what it was like for us? Like when we were younger, when Drake, Kendrick, and Cole were coming up?
Yeah.
Like, we knew that the shit was about to be great.
Yeah.
Like, we need that again. Those guys are older now.
And I know people are saying stuff like the No Name album's fire and things like that. And there are some quality projects.
It's not shifting culture.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so what is missing on that level for it to be culture shifting? Is it the machine not getting behind the quality projects?
Mike, the music
Do we
gotta be
need
like
the
that.
machine?
Mike,
the music.
The music
I
got to
think
be
the music's still lacking.
Mike, Cole liked that on the mic. Like the Vilmatic mixtape. No,
Yeah.
Drake liked that on the mic. Thank Me Later. Like, no, Kendrick liked that on the mic on Section 80 and on Good Kid, Mad City. It wasn't like, at the end of the day, Mike, it was like, no, these dudes fire. They're making fire ass records. Like, we was at work the other day and like, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe came on and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Take the top to the super chat says 80s Redskins offensive line and late 90s Denver offensive line greater than the 90s Dallas offensive line.
No, but up there. They didn't have as many Hall of Famers. There were 3 Hall of Famers on that line. Stop that.
I mean, what do people think, man? Are we tripping, or is it like some great music, game-changing music out there that is not getting the proper attention? Because that's what we're here for, to talk about some of these things that might not be getting the proper attention.
If it was great like that, people would be slapping us across the face with it. That's what happened when some.
You're right.
Let's go back to when Magic 1 came out, Mike, where people were literally on the verge of abusing us to talk about the album. They're like, why aren't you guys talking about how great because it was that great.
Yeah.
When it's that great, people will let you know.
And they can't stop talking about it, and you can't avoid it.
They can't stop talking about it because they can't stop listening to it, and you can't avoid it.
I think this right here, man,
Ain't nothing
at least
getting made like that this year.
Since we've been doing this show, at least.
And it's okay.
I think this is the most wide open opportunity that, like you said, a game changer has to just come in and do the DMX.
Get out my head. I was like, somebody could totally come DMX the game right now.
Right now.
Right now.
I mean, I don't know if the labels are out there watching. They probably know too, because they study this. It's their day to day. Where is the next big star that's going to go out here and just change the trajectory of where hip hop is going, or needs to go, at least for the next 2 years? Because like you said, when Griselda was doing what they were doing, boom, they had shit locked for a good year or two.
And inspired a wave, but it inspired a wave and inspired people like Styles and Havoc to do a project together.
Exactly.
Right.
Matt Max with the super chat says, LOL, you know Google says Barry played with 4 Hall of Fame linemen, right? Like, stop the capping. You 40, still seeing stuff as a 12-year-old.
First of all, I was 14, 15, and 16. What? Hold on. No. He didn't play with no 4 Hall of Fame offensive linemen.
Mad Max, you're not going to let the NFL conversation go. Mad Max, do you think that there's somebody out here who is, taking over the game, or who is not getting the proper light? Because what I was saying offline, I was thinking about Chance the Rapper, right?
Why?
Because they made Chance the Rapper the face of independent success. And I thought about Chance the Rapper. I guess let me do a little bit of backlogging on where that thought even came from. I'm trying to think of the last time the Machine actually got behind somebody that was supposed to be the future, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Chance the Rapper posing as an independent artist was the machine trying to get behind an individual that was going to, change the trajectory of where hip hop was going.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, well, he can't really be independent because independent people who have that kind of following and that type of success, they really don't fall off like that. They go and do what Currency and Wiz and these guys do. They have their fan base, and it's kind of unexplainable in the fact that Chance the Rapper was such a success as an independent artist but doesn't have that following. You see what I'm saying?
He did have that following at one point, though.
I'm talking about how did it not continue on. Could you imagine Tech Nine falling off?
Quality.
It doesn't matter what Tech Nine puts out. Tech Nine has a base. Exactly.
A core.
But that's what I'm saying. If Chance was really independent like that, his core would be stronger than that.
Well, people inside the machine kind of supported him. Just real quick for Mad Max, the Detroit Lions have had 22 Hall of Famers. None of them played offensive line. At the time, Barry Sanders played offensive line. Mad Max up here making up shit. He doesn't have – there's not one player that played with Barry Sanders that is in the NFL Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, in Barry Sanders' 10 NFL seasons, Mike, guess what he did? He made All-Pro every fucking season he played. 6 times first team, 4 times second team. You want to pull up Emmitt Smith's numbers during that same time? Because he ain't
no.
Right.
I've had enough Barry Sanders
stop playing
talk
with me. 10
today.
years. 10 years, all pro every year.
So y'all really want to get under Coop's skin, mention Barry Sanders?
Just lying. He said play with 4 offense Hall of Fame. No, not one. We got the whole stat sheet right here. Shit, wild.
I think the last person that they attempted to push forth, again, I think we spoke about this in a previous show, might have been Jack Harlow. But it's like, I mean, I know Drake has a new album coming out.
Last record was good, and Jack's album was good.
Yeah.
It's not culture or genre shifting.
What does the game need? Like, like we mentioned DMX.
50, Mace.
So you talking about some hardcore
Tupac.
shit.
No, I'm just talking about that person that just kind of comes in and it's like, oh, breath of fresh air to the game. You know what I'm saying?
What does a breath of fresh air look like at this point, though?
Now, we don't judge that because we're old. So it's like it's a young man's game. But somebody, there's somebody out there right now that it's like going to be the next thing, and it's just a matter of like them capitalizing on it. It's like, but it's not out and available to us. It's like I don't see something, or it could be somebody that's been bubbling for years that just needs to make that project that changes everything.
That's kind of DMX, what he was too.
Right.
Firebird Phoenix with the $20 super chat showing love says, Mike and Coop, I just put my album link in the comments. Y'all check it out. He might be the next.
Like Jadakiss was telling this story, told this story one time about how like X was X to them in Yonkers for like 6 or 7 years before the deal. I just realized when he was telling the story, it's like, why is Busta Rhymes in the Rough Riders anthem video? It's because he already knew DMX, because DMX used to open for Leaders of the New School like in 1990, 91.
X had a deal with Rowdy.
Right. So like
when the Fugees had one.
Right. Like, so cats knew who X was for years. So it's like, Kiss is talking about how like you go to an X show like in Yonkers and it's like, oh no, the whole neighborhood is like there and like knows the words to the songs and like all that. So X was X to them. And I'm saying like that guy's out there somewhere. It just hasn't hasn't bubbled yet.
Mad Max with the super chat says, Mike, the game needs another Hove type rapper, someone who is skilled, can talk fly, but be respected. Dot, Drake, and Cole, even though they are nerds, is the last to be on the degree the game needs NYC again. Huh. What do you think about that? You think that the game does need a New York rapper to come through? And
only New Yorkers say that.
Think hip-hop – well, I
Only
think
New
that whole
Yorkers-
– I feel
only
like
New
that whole
Yorkers say that
discussion
shit.
about hip-hop being dead comes from the fact that nobody in New York was running it at that point. I feel like 50 was the last person from New York to
50's the
come
last
up and
person
run
to
it.
have the game in the chokehold from New York. Let's not get it twisted.
That was 20 years ago.
More or less. It was a 4 or 5 year run, so you can say 15 if you want to be fair about it. But it's been an easy 15 years
Okay,
since
well,
somebody from New York was that dude.
Let's cut it off at graduation date because that's when the tides officially turned.
Right. When is
That was
06?
07.
07, right. So 07
yeah.
to 23. Yeah, 16 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So about 15, 16 years.
Ohio K with the super chat says, I missed last week's show, but I wanted to chime in about the posse cut topic. Big L had 8 artists on 8 is Enough off his first album. Yeah, that's hard. I don't know, man. I don't want to sound like this because I'm clearly not from New York, but I respect New York hip hop. My favorite MCs are from New York, and
Most of your favorite MCs are from New York, but
yeah, for the most part.
but for a lot of us,
most of my favorite hip hop albums are from New York. But I'm gonna say this:
that's the era we grew up in.
yeah, it is the
too.
era we grew up in. But I don't really see a New York rapper taking the game, and I think what Griselda did is doing is very special. I think it could have had more momentum behind it if New York City would have gotten behind it like they should have, and I think that not getting behind them was a big missed opportunity for New York to take the game back over, in my opinion.
Well, here's first of all, I realize that it's like the era that we grew up in, Mike. Even as Southerners, the hip hop we were really more introduced to was West Coast and East Coast.
Yeah.
It's like we were just having the Chronic 2001 conversation during the setup, you know. But quite frankly, the reason why I don't think a New York rapper is going to take the game is because for what New York clings on to, it's like, oh, like, well, the guys that y'all are trying to replace are hard to replace, and that's why nobody's going to really take the game. 50 was the last guy, and probably the first guy where I felt like it's like, oh, well, he's the first guy to take the city that's actually not like the best rapper in the city maybe at the time that he's doing it, like lyrically speaking. You know what I'm saying? So the fundamentals of the game had changed. It's like if you go look at the lineage of it, it's like the Rakim shit.
Yeah.
To Kane, to Nas, to Big, to Jay, and then like to 50, and Jadakiss kind of sprinkled somewhere in there because his buzz was like that at one point. It's like, well, 50 is the weakest MC of them lyrically.
But probably the strongest song maker.
I was about to say, but he's the best hit maker of all of them too,
and the best hook guy too.
That's what I mean by
he
hit
compensates for that.
Right, he made up for what he wasn't as a Nas and Rakim as a lyricist, and for what he wasn't has like a charisma, because he's not as charismatic as Jay. Even for as charismatic as he is, he's not as charismatic as Jay. So it's like, well, he doesn't have Jay's charisma or Jay's flow, even though he has a lot of charisma and he has a great flow. It's not Jay's. Lyrically, he's definitely like not a Nas or a Rakim. You know what I mean? Bar for bar, he's not fucking with Kiss. But it's like, oh no, the total package. Nigga can rap his ass off, does the hook, does the verse, can make hook hit records for other people. Like he encompassed a lot of things, and quite frankly, they just haven't had somebody that well-rounded come out since him, and that's just a fact.
I think at this point, when we talk about, and we said that was like 20 years ago, we talk about a young person growing up in New York that's from New York, from the core of it. Who are they really inspired by, too? You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not. He definitely wasn't Biggie.
But I'm saying they can't be. You know what I mean? Like, that's like...
You know what? That was 50's thing. You know who 50 was? 50 was probably closer to Big in terms of just the well-rounded nature of it. That's what I mean. It's like, well, no, y'all haven't had somebody well-rounded like that.
Well, the thing is, I think that an up-and-coming New York MC at this stage and in this era, it's probably going to be more influenced by the South and possibly the West Coast than they are New York City, unless they're going to be more so local. You know what I mean?
Well, 50 was.
Yeah.
He even said on his album, I talk like I'm Southern.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the way I don't know if there's going to be a New York rapper, and even if we look at DMX and who he was, because I remember down here in Atlanta, they really was rocking with X because he didn't really sound like an East Coast rapper to them. So I'm trying to think of the last time that an East Coast-centric MC who wasn't doing a bunch of collaborations like Jay was doing actually took over nationally. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
and just kind of kept those New York core roots.
I saw DJ Prince Namor made a comment that I would agree with too. And I mean, and this is where death does impact hip-hop.
Mm-hmm.
If Pop Smoke and Nipsey were here, it would be different. For both coasts relatively, because I do feel like if Nipsey was here, he would be that dude on the West, and that's no disrespect to Kendrick, YG, Schoolboy, like none of them dudes. If Nip was here, Nip would be the man, and it'd probably be the same thing for Pop in NY. The only difference between the two is that at least before Nip died, we were actually able to get victory laps, so we seen it come to fruition. It's like, yeah, he's that dude like we thought he was. With Pop, it's like we didn't get to see him really. I don't feel like we saw his prime or saw his peak. And so Pop Smoke might be the guy, at least as far as New York is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
that, and even 50 was co-signing. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
what's his name? Yeah, 50 was co-signing. Who's the other guy that a lot of people say sound like Pop Smoke?
Who, Fabio?
Yeah, Fabio. I think
Fabio
that.
not Pop Smoke.
No, I know he's not, but I'm just saying. I think that there was an initiative to put a lot behind Fabio.
They tried, it didn't work.
And they really did.
Kanye tried. Kanye was part of it.
Yeah,
Didn't work.
Cardi tried.
It's not gonna work.
I mean, honestly, Cardi might be the most hope for New York rap. But again, we look at Cardi. Where's her influences? Because her influences don't seem to be in the tri-state area. Same thing with Ice Spice. Like, is Ice Spice really New York influence like that? I like from a traditional sense, I guess we would say.
See, that's what I mean about being New York influence. I've always told you this, Mike. It's like, well, Ray and Prodigy were always more New York MCs to me than Big and Jay and Nas were.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Because there was something about the way that they talk was more succinctly like bound to New York and stylistically and the grittiness to it than those guys who I feel like made records for more masses of people.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love New York being involved in hip hop. I mean, obviously it's the Mecca, it's the core. So I want to see somebody out of New York be big. New York City, I guess I would say, because clearly Buffalo's doing it, but New York City's acting like that's not happening for whatever reason.
I mean, Love said that they get a lot of love when we interviewed her.
Yeah,
you know what
well,
I mean?
that's
so
good.
I'm going to take the artist's word for it. So if an artist who's coming from upstate New York is down in the city and is like, nah, Coop, Mike, we getting the love, it's like I'm just going to
I feel like they could get more as a fan.
I just feel like I don't – right.
Yeah.
I guess from our perspective as media and as fans is that it's not enough love, though.
Yeah.
Like, I feel what you're saying. You're probably feeling the love. It ain't enough for us to be satisfied with it, though, because we think that you should be getting treated better maybe. And I think that is like a New York City thing. But this is what I mean, too, is that when New York standards are so ridiculously high, because it's like, well, when you are talking about your 10 to 20 greatest MCs of all time, they are going to take up the bulk of the list, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
They put in the work.
And so, well, the standard is different because of that. So it's harder now than any other region of the country as far as rap is concerned for somebody to come out of the city in New York and to take the mantle like that, because to do that you have to add a bare minimum, Mike, to take the city, be 50.
Yeah. Mad Max of the Super Chat says, in an era of monotone melodic rapping, you need a skilled person to transition. Plus, that kind of has to come from New York because that's the source.
First of all, it's not the source, but it's the first intelligent thing that you said today. I want to thank you for saying something intelligent, because Mad Max is right. They need somebody skilled to transcend specifically in New York City. That's what I'm saying is it's like, no, look at the lineage. 50, Biggie, Nas, Jay, Rakim, Kane.
I think 50 kind of
like,
is an example of somebody. I
that's
think
high.
50 is a great example of a New York rapper that was transcending for that time period, whereas some of the New York
DMX.
MCs were kind of like, still in the 90s type of flow. He went out there and transitioned with the times, but still kept it very New York.
Well, you see, here's what I'm saying, though. To transcend in New York, you literally have to show a skill set that says this guy is probably going to be one of the 25 greatest MCs who ever lived, because of where the standards are, because you have Rakim, and that's a top 10 MC, because you have Nas and Big and Jay. Those are four of your top 10 are coming from the city, okay? And then you still have Kiss. You got Ray. You got Ghost. You got 50. You know what I'm saying? You got X. I just gave you 9 guys. That's 9 of your 20.
Mad Max of the Super Chat says,
It's not bringing up Prodigy.
NYC shows Griselda mad love. Y'all talking about radio love, and NYC radio is ran by the South and the West. How did that happen, though?
When you're saying, listen to how crazy that sounds. The radio in New York is ran by the South and the West. Says who and since when?
And how?
How they do that there?
I don't know, man. I guess we came up in an era where New York radio was only playing New York shit.
Big cap.
And to even hear that people feel like the South and the West run New York radio, it's like, how? And honestly, man, how do y'all not run them off the airwaves? I don't understand.
Saying.
Like, I don't get it.
Because best believe what we don't be getting down here, Mike. Like for whatever we get down here, we don't be getting a bunch of New York radio down here.
But this is what I will say.
Like,
I will say this, and we talked about Stretch and Bobbito before we started this show. When hip-hop was really bubbling in New York, it wasn't about what Hot 97 was playing. It wasn't about what, Power 105 didn't even exist. Hip-hop was in the streets. And I don't understand how New York still can't carry on that mantra and even acknowledges Hot 97. Make Hot 97 do what the streets are doing. That's how it happened in the first place. Because initially, radio wasn't supporting hip hop at all. But Run DMC was still doing Madison Square Garden somehow.
This is what I mean about how the love is there, but it's like, oh no, if y'all love Griselda like that, y'all wouldn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Pray for Paris would burn totally different in the city if y'all really felt that way about it. From a King to a God would burn totally different in the city if y'all really felt that way.
Exactly.
Because
Illmatic wasn't taking over the airwaves, but it still was what it was.
Mike, it created a bonfire that literally made it all the way down to North Carolina.
I mean, I don't
you
know.
You were
if
in
30,
Atlanta, but I was in North Carolina at the time. It's like, no. Niggas in every hood knew about Illmatic when it came out. Same thing with Ready to Die. Same thing with Southern Playalistic. You couldn't deny it. It was like a fire, Mike. It's like you couldn't miss it. It didn't matter if radio was playing or not. The street said you got to play this.
Mad Max says Charlamagne the God and Ebro run the radio. LOL. I mean, well, how do y'all let that happen? And even if they do run the radio, how
you not gonna let?
Why does that even matter? Right?
Yeah. Still supposed to. How about this? And this is our
Who
issue.
runs the clubs?
Well, this is our issue with how they do Big Boy down here, is because it's comparable issue to me. It's like, well, you can play whatever you like, but some of this shit need to be grandfathered in, don't it? Like out of respect, out of quality, out of consistent ethos.
Again, what are the people saying about this?
That's what I mean about the consistent ethos, because the consistent ethos of the people is like, we'll play that shit, not that bullshit.
Because what this sounds like to me, from what Mad Max is saying, y'all know that, Ebro and Charlamagne run the radio stations, quote unquote. Those are Mad Max words, not mine.
But they don't.
But y'all allow them to just feed you whatever is hot, as opposed to telling them, like, nah, you're not playing the right shit. And if you don't play the right shit, you need to get up off your spot or play the right shit.
Play that shit.
Like, I don't understand.
I don't understand what the problem
but
is.
again, that's why you had successful shows like what Stretch and Bobbito were doing from, the campus of Columbia University. And it made Hot 97 change up what they were playing, because they were getting Wu-Tang first. They were getting the Black Moons and all those folks first on a college campus.
Well, here's the thing. How about this? I mean, and we know this, Mike, as hip-hop heads. There used to be stuff that was New York-centric, but about the quality of what was being made, Mike, it made its way everywhere.
Yeah.
Like when you're bringing up Buckshot and Black Moon, it's like, no, I saw the video to Who Got the Props one time.
Exactly.
And I was like,
where's that at?
I got to go get that.
I mean,
That was it.
I remember seeing Shadowbox one time. I was like, I got to find this, man. Mad Max to the Super Chat says, you talking about what the radio played. They don't even play NYC rappers who make 1 million views from drill, but you asking about Griselda. Well, again.
That's not our problem.
Yeah.
That's not our problem. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's your city's problem if they're not playing like the locals in the area like they should. That's what we're saying. It's like, that ain't our problem.
Well, how about this? And you're talking about radio guys and older guys, guys that are in their late 40s, probably early 50s or somewhat. What are the young DJs in New York playing? Like, where are the young DJs in New York who are dictating the sounds at these different spots, have their own shows that are on the grind? Like, yeah, if there's some young DJs in New York in this room right now, like, what are they playing?
People be wild.
I don't understand. Like, I think we've been, for a certain era, we have been so controlled by radio and want them to give us the food that, that's supposed to be good for us without demanding what they should be serving.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't either, man. But again, other cities don't operate like that. And honestly, I think that's why New York hasn't had that one in a minute. I don't know. Maybe
if you're a rapper coming out of New York right now, does it even behoove you to like even try to fit into that mold? You get what I'm saying? It's like the incentive to do it is being lost, is what I'm saying.
I think, when they mentioned the next Jay-Z and this and that, I think Mad Max said that.
That's not
what he has to understand, though, is a big part of Jay's run was the fact that he was collaborating with people from the South, from the West. And he did Money Ain't a Thing. He did the High remix. He did these things to stretch out where many people, like the prodigies of the world, felt like he was watering down New York hip hop. I remember that being a conversation at the time. So I don't know if you're going to get somebody like that in the form that you think you're going to get. You probably already got somebody like that. You know what I'm saying?
You know, they could use a Future. Somebody
Designer?
No, here's what stop that.
I'm just saying.
Stop that.
He was a future cover
That's
copy.
a ridiculous.
But I
It's
know what you mean.
ridiculous. What I'm
I had
saying,
to
they
throw
could
that in there.
they could use a Future. For us, Mike, Future's never gonna make our top 5 rappers in Atlanta. Like for your or my list. Like maybe he does at 5. Like maybe.
I mean, objectively, but personally.
But
probably
personally,
not.
we
Yeah.
were raised on Andre and Big Boy and CeeLo and Gip, and so there is even a level of lyricism from our MCs in this city that we like. We talk about Sci-Hi on here with Frequency. We talk about JID's Ceiling on here with some semi-frequency. So Future probably not going to make our quote-unquote top 5 Atlanta rapper list. You know how I personally feel about Jeezy, and that's not even bringing Tip into the conversation. So he's probably not making it.
Right.
But Future done ran this city, Mike.
Yep.
And Future done ran this city without having to be the MC that Andre and Big Boy and Tip and Gip and Psy. He ran the city without having to do that.
Right.
Because he's well-rounded. He knows how to make a hit song. He writes a good hook. But Mike, he's got an energy and a charisma and a personality to him. And so for whatever people feel about these New York rappers on the drill scene, and listen to what I'm saying, they're not big as fucking stars as you think. That's why I'm saying, like, y'all don't have no Future, and that's really where the game is right now. The expectation shouldn't be to have an Andre or a Big Boy or CeeLo level lyricist,
They
or
don't
have
have
a
a Lil
Rakim,
Uzi.
or have a Rakim or a Big or a Jay or a Nas level lyricist. You can't have that, but you don't even have a Future. Where's your Future?
You're
at?
going back. They don't have a Lil Uzi. They don't have a Kodak Black right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I mean, that, I feel like that 2016 freshman cover,
Y'all don't have a school.
that shit changed things.
They don't have a Schoolboy Q, Mike. You feel what I'm saying? They don't got a Schoolboy Q.
You don't think Dave East is a schoolboy Q?
I like Dave East, but has he made anything that's fucking with Oxymoron, Blank Face, or Crash Talk?
Mad Max to the super chat says, Mike,
Albums go hard.
we have an aux. Now we tune them out, and the radio is funded by solely labels. They're not playing records for the whites. They're not even playing records for the whites. Okay. Mad Max also says, that's why mixtapes are big in NYC. Okay, well, who's running the mixtape scene? And I'm glad you said that, because when you said Future, I'm thinking like, well, okay,
His mixtape is
fuck
what?
being national, who's actually running New York right now?
Right.
Like, what's the artist whose mixtapes are flooding in the city in a similar way? Like you said, 50. Before 50 dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, he had the city on lock with his mixtapes. Who is the guy or woman in New York right now who is locking down the city just on the city's level that we don't know about
That's
yet
what I'm
like
saying.
that?
This is what I mean about you don't even have a Future. Mike, I knew who Future was. I didn't realize Future was running the city. To my sister, who is now grown, who was in high school at the time, I'm taking her to a varsity cheerleading game, and she puts the Dirty Sprite mixtape in my CD player.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
She like, Coop, this nigga run the city right now. You old.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God. I'm like, that happened fast. I was like, when did I get old? She's like, yeah,
It
it happened
happens
fast, nigga. She's like, yeah, he running. She's like, this is it. Like my little, I'll never forget sitting in the car and she told me, she's like, nah, Coop, this is it.
CJ Kid with the super chat says they play artists from the East with sounds that feel like they're from another region and not that traditional boom bap East sound like Ice Spice.
Somebody brought up Scarlip. I like Scarlip, and I follow Scarlip on Instagram.
I don't know enough about Scarlett musically to say if I like her or not. I think that, there's something there. There's a level of talent there, but
Yes.
I can't really make a judgment on it until, I hear more stuff.
I'm about to say, but where's the, like, I know the This Is New York record, but like, where's like the verses and where are, like, the
Yeah.
appearances and stuff that's like, where, like, okay, let's go to Kiss right quick. Remember, we had a reason to feel that way about Kiss coming out of New York. It's
I feel like I know more about the personality than I know about the music.
that's what I mean. Like, well,
So-
so let's go to Kiss. Like, you remember when Buzz was working from Kiss the Game Goodbye and stuff? It's like, no, Mike, we was hearing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and we had been hearing stuff for a couple of years.
What used to make you a fan of somebody?
I mean, it's just that moment where you feel like either they say some shit that you really like or they connect with you personally. For me, with Jadakiss, it was like when he said, I sneeze on tracks and bless you. I'm special. And if you like working out, then I'm going to stretch you. I was like, hold up. I was like, he might be a little different.
What made me a fan of people is either a song or me hearing them spit or a verse or a feature. We're going to get into the feature conversation. But I don't really get that from people who are coming out now. Like,
how about this?
You know what? I will say this.
Where's the
Rome
AZ?
Streets.
Where's the AZ Life's a Bitch verse?
I fuck with Rome Streets because of the music I've heard from him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's like,
fuck with Stove.
Those are the things that make you
Stove,
a fan
Mike.
of somebody.
Stove,
right.
Mike. I fuck with Stove because of what we've been hearing
Exactly.
since Jose Canseco.
Exactly.
It's like, no, he's on Westheimer. It's like, no, like Stove is hot. Vogue
Amani
cover.
Caesar. You
Vogue
know what I mean?
cover,
Like,
yeah.
It's the actual
99
performances.
99 Averex. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like I can name you the record that Stove is on because Stove is giving me a reason to be like, hey, I can't wait for his project to drop.
Exactly. And it's like now people try to sell you on everything other than the music and the performance. And I think that's what kind of makes things seem a little bit drier in that way. Now, I will say this about Atlanta. Hate it or love it, niggas gonna come with some music. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really about, parading somebody around that you haven't heard before. We don't really do that too much in the city.
You know what we have too, and this is kind of New York-ish. It's like, we have people coming up on every part of our zones where it's like, well, Nutty is from the east side. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he just did the record with 21, who's from the west side, but they did it on the east side and shot the video and stuff. It's like, oh, no, the city hear that and feel that and vibe with that. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have that in spades down here.
Right. Mad Max with the Super Chat says, Sleepy Hollow and Chef G, but they had legal issues. Pop was literally the future, and Boogie was and is King Chef G's probably my favorite. Okay.
It's not translating outside of the sphere like it used to.
I wonder why.
Some of that is just because a lot of great hip hop's been made out of New York.
You think that they're fighting against the legacy of the city?
That's what I mean about the standards, Mike. You're literally fighting against, you know what?
I think what you're saying, though, not to cut you off.
How about
I
this,
think
Mike?
you're saying that lyrics are a lot less important. And
that hurts New
is
York
they're
City,
going
yes.
to and I think that might hurt New York more than it hurts us, more than it hurts the West Coast, because we're more about a vibe. You know what I mean?
So we'll let a Future in, even though we know he can't rap with Andre and Big Boy.
Right, because it's more about the sonics of it, because we have a versatility when it comes to the sonics, where New York is so lyric heavy,
Right.
and they're going against that legacy. If you have an Ice Spice come out, it's like, well, she's not lyrically Foxy Brown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But
and
how about this? Here's what it is. The love for us is the same. It's like, well, down here, there are people that love Future and Gunna and Thug with the same passion that we love CeeLo, Andre, and Big Boy. And
No,
so
real
we
talk.
have motherfucking balance down here. We got balance down here. I told you, my cousin who put me on the hip hop, who put me on the Slick Rick, his son, Future's the GOAT. Like, I remember when he was younger and he used to tell me that, and I'd be like, you wild.
And he's like, no, I'm serious.
But I thought as he got older it was going to change. But then it hit me who Future was to him, and I'm like, he's my Andre.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his Andre. Like, the way I looked at Andre when I was younger, it's like, that nigga's nicer than everybody down here. That's how he feels about Future, and it's real.
Yeah, Mellow Ball was real when he went out there and said Future's greater than Nas. That's
He
his
meant that.
reality.
He
like,
meant that.
Yeah, he meant that.
I'm not saying
he wasn't trolling.
And here's the thing about it. For their generation and how their generations moves, and for what they've been taught about the game, that makes sense for him to make that comment.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about, well, we got a balance down here. The West got a balance too. Mike, they ain't had nobody with a social commentary outside of Kendrick that's even rivals Ice Cube and Tupac. They show all those guys love. Nip, Q.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They ain't had no Ice Cube on the mic since Ice Cube.
Mad Max with the Super Chat says, it's not translating because of the internet. It's hard to make a superstar anywhere. There's like, 5 and been 5 or 10 years. It's a cult era. Okay, and I could see it being a cult era, but again, I don't know if that plays well for New York. One of the questions I was going to have, or one of the questions I was going to put forth, is there a possibility that somebody could come out of New York and make lyrics important for New York again? And I say that respectfully because I know, like I said, Cardi B and I think Ice Spice are some of the biggest stars New York has, but they're not. It's not about their lyrics per se.
I almost think that's a dangerous proposition for somebody to come out and be that lyrical, and I'm going to tell you why. Because okay, so let's say somebody comes around with the level. They operate on a level where you can see flashes of a Cool G rap, a Kane, a Rakim, a KRS, a bit like they register on that level. You know, immediately happens for registering on that level. When you gonna make Illmatic? When you gonna make Ready to Die?
You know what?
You gonna make Paid in Full and let the rhythm hit them?
Well,
you feel what I'm saying?
Based on that narrative, and
That's
I will say this about
you gonna make Ready to Die.
I will say this
doubt?
about
you
what Mad
make
Max
Reasonable
said.
Doubt, nigga.
I was gonna say this based on what Mad Max said. I do think that having a new Jay-Z might be the best that you can kind of hope for, and that's a long shot
But
too.
then, but this is what I'm
But
saying.
Reasonable Doubt didn't hit right away. They could have a
It
cult
did.
classic in their pocket and then adjust. You know what I'm saying?
But Paul's Mike, people in New York did feel that way about Reasonable Doubt. It did
No
hit
facts.
them. So when you're talking about it didn't hit like that, no, you're talking about to the masses. In
That's
New
what I'm
York,
saying.
Reasonable, but that's what I'm saying. So when you're saying you need a Jay, it's like, no, understand how Jay started. That's Reasonable
facts.
Doubt. So it's like,
I think it's plausible though to have a hit in the city and then start adjusting to the rest of the game more so than, like you said, making a Ready to Die out the gate.
but
'cause
here's-
that's difficult.
But here's the thing about it, Mike, and this is what I mean. It's like when you're asking for Jay. Jay had been around for a long time.
Exactly.
And put in the work for a long time.
Exactly.
Before that moment even happened for him. That nigga literally been hanging out trying to make it happen since about 87, 88. It didn't happen until 96.
I think Joey Badass was a big opportunity.
And that shit is not, that's what I'm saying about it's not happening because most of the guys that made it happen, like, how about this, Mike? I mean, like Nas and Jay had to wait their fucking turn.
They did have to wait their turn.
They had to wait their turn. It
Yeah.
sounds absurd to say that now, but back then they had to wait their turn. It's like, no, little nigga, get to the back of the tour bus. Let you kick a couple rhymes before we do the real rap songs that people came to see. Ain't nobody in New York doing that right now, Mike.
Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. You know, I think the last time I really felt like that about a New York rapper that was coming up, like I said, I've been following Joey since he was 17 years old. But I remember Astro Kid was rapping crazy at like 15. And for whatever reason, it didn't translate. And I had big hopes for those guys moving forward. But like I said, when you have a 2016 XXL cover with Kodak's on that cover, Kodak Black's on the cover.
Star.
You got Lil Uzi Vert on the cover.
Star.
You got 21 Savage on the cover.
Star.
You got Lil Yachty on the cover.
Star.
You got Anderson .Paak on that cover. And New York's representation, I think, was
Crossover
Dave
star.
East. I think the Designer was on that cover.
It's very problematic.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, this group right here, that turned out to be the future.
How about this?
You know what I'm saying?
How
Like,
about this is what I mean. Like somebody, how about this? No, this is different if Dave East makes the project that I feel like he's potentially capable of making. That's what I
Right.
mean. Is it's like, are there people out there? It's like, no, I fuck with Dave East. I like his shit. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, but you haven't made that project where it's like, oh, we gotta have that.
stop everybody.
Stop that. Hold on. Stop what you're doing. He's made some records like that. He's had some appearances like that.
Right.
But it's like, no, it hasn't happened. I mean, and there is something to it, Mike. I mean, even for what, Mike, even when we talk about Method Man on here, it's like, no, that nigga may bring the pain. I'll be there for you.
He did.
There's a reason for the buy-in. Shadow boxing. The hook, the ice cream. The hook, the cream. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
The what?
The what? No, there's a reason.
METHOD, man.
There's a
Yeah, he got
reason.
moments.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Give us a reason.
Mad Max to the Super Chat says, yeah, Mike, if they talk fly and have fun records, most lyricist songs just too serious.
And that's fine. That's what I'm saying. But y'all, 50, DMX, Mace.
Do you think some of the people who are bringing that
There's
hardcore
not even
East
a Mace. How
Coast
about this?
sound
They
back?
could use a Mace. That's what they really need. A Mace would work.
Well, then
right
you
now.
need a Puffy, you know, to kind of bring all that together. What I was going to say, though, with some of this, I guess, hardcore East Coast centric music coming back, do you think there's just not enough balance to have some of the fun records on there as well? because Biggie had to do that too. Biggie was making some hardcore stuff, but he also had some, stuff that was radio.
I mean, Biggie really didn't find his balance till after Ready to Die. This is what I mean about the
No, that's
buy-in.
true.
Like, Ready to Die is not all the songs on there are dark and dense,
It is a dark album.
except for, Mike, on the original version of Ready to Die, all of the songs are serious except for Juicy and Big Papa. All
Yeah.
of them.
No, you're right.
The rest of them are dense. Even the original One More Chance. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's not joking when he's talking. It's not like fun like the One More Chance remix is. It's a dope record, but it's not fun.
You're right.
Yeah, Give Me the Loot, Machine Gun Funk, Things Done Change, Everyday Struggle,
But again, that's
Suicidal
Puffy.
Thoughts.
I think that's Puffy, man. I think that
Unbelievable's kind of fun, but that's just on some rap shit. It's fun.
I think that's Puffy though. Puffy went back, heard the album, you saw the response of the album. Was like, okay, we could tweak some things, we could remix some things here. Let's stay in the booth.
I think they just found their working synergy. It's like, how
I
about
think
this?
so too.
I'm gonna let you make this street record big, but you got to give me this record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I let you make Niggas Bleed, you got to let R. Kelly come sing this hook for Fucking You Tonight. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If I let you make My Downfall, you got to go do this Notorious Thugs thing with Bone for me. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta do More Money, More Problems.
You got to do More Money, More Problems, and I'm gonna let you do I Got a Story to Tell.
Yeah. CJ Kid with the super chat says Astro was on Mass Appeal too. Bishop Noir was dope too, but even with a MF Doom cosign, it didn't happen for him either. I guess the question is, why isn't this translating? And has the sound of hip hop changed so much that people feel like anything that's not this sound is some old nigga shit?
I never thought I'd say this. Is what they're missing not maybe even an MC, but a mogul to shape the sound? Because Puff did help shape the sound.
He did.
For whatever you feel about it.
And even what Jay was able to kind of pick up on, that was a
based
lane
on
that
Puff.
Puff said.
Yeah,
Even
Jay-
if you look at If I Ruled the World from Nas, that's based on what Puff, laid out there.
Definitely blueprint plans.
Yeah, and shout out to the track masters because they're very pivotal in all of this too.
Yeah, all of those guys are. But
And,
I mean, but
yeah.
maybe they're missing a mogul to help shape and craft like the future of the sound.
Who are the moguls in New York?
Because it's like even down here, Mike. It's like, well, Mike, where Future from? What? Who?
Yes, yeah, Rico Wade's cousin.
Okay, so he part of Dungeon, Mike.
Mhm.
So the cultivation and the scope of even future sound for the new era, it's like, no, he's new generation Dungeon family.
Well, who are the
Cultivated.
Who are the moguls and executives that are on the ground in New York in this generation of hip hop? Who are the Steve Stouts of this era?
No, Mike, that's what I'm saying. Is like I think the problem might not be with
Because the talent's out there.
Right, talent's always going to be there.
Yeah.
This goes back to Prince's thing when he's like, well, I made the music. The record label need to be like,
Yeah.
I'm not a marketer. I'm not I'm an artist, right?
Yeah.
So my job's to be an artist. And so I think what's happened is because of how this game goes, the artists are bearing too much weight because there's, Mike, you're right, Mike, because it really just occurred to me. It's like, ain't no Jay Prince. Mike, I'm naming everybody. Ain't no Jay Prince, ain't no Puff, ain't no Jermaine Dupri, ain't no Suge.
Yeah.
Ain't no, you know what I'm saying? Like, these guys did help cultivate sounds. I know some of it comes with nefarious activities and nefarious legacies and all this, that, and the other. But Dr. Dre even has an executive help shape the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Like, guys who help shape the sound matter. Steve Stout.
Yeah, I was going
Mike-
to say Steve Stout's important, Puffy's important.
Yeah.
Track masters are important.
Track masters are important.
Who else am I thinking about? Dame Dash is important. Biggs
Yes.
is important.
Yes.
Like, where are those guys for artists in this era?
Right.
I think that
I'm-
ASAP Yams was supposed to be that, and he has untimely passing.
Where's the DNY for Rough Riders?
Exactly.
Where's DNY? DNY's the one that made that shit shake. They're
Yeah.
the one that got the locks out. They're the one that got the locks out the Bad Boy deal. They're the one that the streets can't.
They made the DMX
they
thing
made the
happen.
DMX thing
Let's
happen.
keep it real.
They made the DMX thing happen.
Yeah,
like where's
because
that?
they were with X when he was going through the Rowdy deal. When nobody wanted to sign X, they kept X on that track. So I think right now what's happening is artists are being asked to take on too much
Yes.
of the business side of it and the brunt of those things, and it's not translating. Whereas, like you said, with those individuals in place, artists were able to do what they do best, and those guys were able to go find and cultivate acts. And I don't want to miss another one. Irv Gotti's important as well.
Yes.
Very important.
Very important.
Without Irv Gotti, we don't
Jay,
get Jay
Ja,
on Def Jam. We don't
Jay,
get
Ja, DMX.
Yeah.
Irv.
Irv made that happen.
Right.
Where's the Irv Gotti of this era?
Well, here's the thing. What happens when you get these guys because these guys are visionaries and have a vision,
Mm-hmm.
what you get is a team.
Yep.
Like it's not just that Puff was a mogul. It's that Puff went and got the hitman. Oh no. I need Easy Mo B.
Bringing the dream team.
I need Stevie J. I need Nasheem Myrick. I need Derek D. Dot. You know what I'm saying? Like no. I need everybody all in. Total, come sing right here. Kim, we about to work on your project in a minute. Junior Mafia, over here to the side.
Yeah.
Big, please step to the front of the mic all the time, Big. Big, step
Yeah.
to the front of the mic all the time. Locks, watch what Big is doing. You feel what I'm saying? Craig Mack, this situation not working. You're going to have to go. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace.
Speaking of which,
like
man.
a mogul thinks that way. This is
Yeah.
what I mean. So the game might not be missing the talent. It might be missing the person that thinks that way and pulls
They
those
could
things
cultivate
together.
the talent.
Steve Stout is like, no. Illmatic didn't sell. So we're going to promote your album by making it seem like people got parking tickets, except for it's an ad for it was written on it. It's like, your shit going to sell this time. You want to know what? Lauren's on Columbia. She need to come sing a hook. Fuji's popping right now. Yeah.
Steve Stout's gift is in marketing. He's able to bring the brands and the artists together, you know,
Parking
and figure it
tickets.
out those ways.
He marketed it like parking tickets in New York City. It's genius. Because
Yeah.
everybody's going to see that shit in the car. Be like, what the fuck? It's perfect.
You remember the
Marketing genius.
what Puff was doing with the Big and Mac thing, and
Yeah,
you
the
know,
Big
with
Mac.
McDonald's
The
and
Big Mac.
shit. So
Even getting the whole Bad Boy symbol created, which is pretty much just a ripoff off the Illmatic cover. Like, yeah.
who do you think has the best logo? I mean, because people don't really do logos anymore, right? That Bad Boy Entertainment logo was always hard to me. I remember the Naughty by Nature merch and shirts and stuff before merch was even a thing, like with the baseball bat and all of that. Like, who do you think had the dopest logo as a label and as a group?
Mike, there's just something about the Death Row symbol and Tupac wearing the Death Row chain that it just kind of stuck with me. So I would go with the Death Row logo. and
That's a
Pac
good
wearing
one.
The Death Row chain.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Public Enemy.
Okay. I'm with that. I'm
Yeah.
with that for if we're talking group for a logo, but if we're talking about the company logo,
Are you
for
talking
me,
about labels?
for me, it's
I always
Death
like
Row.
Def Squad's logo, but I might go with Bad Boy. I thought the Bad Boy shit was hard.
Bad Boy's the Illmatic ripoff, so I can't give it that. There's something about like Death Row, and when Pac finally went over there and he's like wearing the Death Row chain, I'm like, yeah, that's it.
The electric chair is wild.
That's what I want to be. When
I
grow
love
up,
the
was like,
font.
I want to be him when I grow up. So
If we want to be, well, you got on one of the most iconic logos on your shirt
this
right
is
now.
this is the most iconic logo that any group has ever had. Right here, this
Yeah,
W.
I think
'Cause
number
this
2 would be
W
Run
is-
DMC.
Well, this W goes across the world, not just across the states. So
I would say Run DMC would probably be, after that. Because,
okay,
what do you think about the Def Jam logo or the Rockefeller logo?
Def Jam.
I like the Rockefeller logo with the record player and all of that stuff.
It's
I thought
dope.
that was dope.
No. I like the Rockefeller logo too.
It
was
translates well with the chain and all that stuff
dope. Yeah,
too.
no.
But yeah, those are little nuances in hip hop that we just literally don't get anymore. And I know people think that we talk about yesteryear, but you know what? Yesteryear had some exciting nuances that we just don't have anymore.
Big deal when Tupac put on that Death Row
Yeah.
chain. That's what I'm saying. That was a big deal.
Even when we talk about the best features, who would you say has made the best feature verse on a hip hop song in the past 5 years?
Best feature verse.
In the past 5 years, well, shit, 5 years to take us to 2018, then I would go, what would Meek do possibly with Kanye? But that's just
pretty
without
epic.
thinking. But,
Rakim on Busta Rhymes is ELE too.
okay. But again, it's somebody from a previous era. I'm talking about somebody from this era. And Kanye's clearly not from this era either. They don't even do features like that anymore. Let us know if we missing something
It's a
out here.
fascinating question.
Yeah, since 2020, who would you say has had the best featured appearance on somebody else's shit? Is it J. Cole?
Oh God, Pusha T's not from this era either. Neither is Kiss. I was actually thinking.
I don't
about-
feel like J. Cole's from this era either,
No, he's
technically,
not.
but
No, he's not.
he's
not.
almost 40.
He's
yeah.
not. I was following J. Cole like on the early hip hop internet sites, like
Right.
hiphopsite.com and shit like that. Like, yeah.
Let's do it like this. Anybody who's come out since 2020, what's their best featured appearance on somebody else's shit? Because even when I talk about that,
Stove on Jose Canseco is who comes to mind. That's why I like Stove. Is that when I
Okay.
heard that, it's like I was like, I don't know who that is. That guy is star.
yeah,
That's the last time I felt that way about hearing somebody new is when I heard Stove on Jose Canseco. Remember I was texting you, I was like, Mike, I was like, I don't know who this guy is. what he say, Louis V jacket, I'm Ron Burgundy. I was like, hold on. I'm like, dude got style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's the last person. Stove is the last person to hit me that's new like that, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to hear that guy.
And you
Some
know,
more.
it's been 3 years since 2020. We shouldn't be struggling this much.
Stove's the
to
only
find
person.
somebody.
Stove is who comes to mind, Mike. Because I mean, when did what was that? That was Fly God 2, right? That was 2020,
That
right?
was 2020.
Yeah, Stove, Mike. Because Stove has actually had a run of them. That's what I'm saying. It's like he's got Jose Canseco, he's got 99 Avarex, he's got Vogue Cover, Westheimer. He's on Blow for Blow with Rome and Benny.
Shit crazy.
Shit crazy. Mike, that might have been the best punchline this year.
The Magic. Well, that was last year.
I'm talking about cocaine fell out the pot so hot. Cookie still was good on Magic Johnson. It's like I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy that I like.
Yeah, people are saying that this era just doesn't have that level of talent. I don't really believe that per se. I think the talent's there. I think that it's just coming in a different form. And like you said, I think there isn't the talent that cultivates the talent. I think that sometimes we underrate the position of somebody like a Puffy or
Right.
somebody like a Suge too.
Well,
like
here's what
you
I'm
know,
saying, because Big wanted to release Machine Gun Funk, Mike.
yeah,
I love Machine Gun Funk. No.
yeah. But if
No,
you leave it up to the
no,
artists, stuff like that happens.
And no again.
Right now, it seems like the artists are moving independent of themselves.
It's like-
I'm gonna say something that's unpopular.
What's new?
Right. I don't think that I can name an executive in hip hop from end to end that's more impressive than Birdman. I don't think I can. The longevity's insane.
Mike, the business practices just aren't there for you to say
That's
that.
bad. The business practices, that's one thing. But if,
That's a big thing.
That's
It's
a
the
huge-
music business.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's alleged. And again,
Is that what we're doing?
it's true though. It's
some
true.
bullshit.
Cool.
No, we're not. No, Master P. Fuck that shit.
But see, no, I'm
No.
talking about the
no,
resume.
You're not about to sit up there and throw somebody out that we know been raping people from years, including the main artist who made him what he is. No, that's what we not doing up
But
here.
again, those are alleged,
No.
Coop.
That
I
ain't
don't.
no alleged, Mike. They been lost, Mike. Come on.
He has lawsuits,
Ain't no
right?
alleged, Mike. Ain't no alleged.
I guess what I'm
we
saying.
all know what time it is.
Let's look at the record.
And ain't no
stuff.
disrespect to him.
No,
but it's
no.
like,
I feel what you're
Mike,
saying.
Like Rick Ross got a whole song about it. Wayne done been in legal battles about it.
It's-
Drake and Nicki done stopped letting him go into the club for birthday parties about it. Like there's obviously something there, Mike.
But why do artists keep dealing with them then?
Because it's a dirty game, Mike.
Because again, he put Young Thug
I
on.
would
Really,
fuck with Master P.
he got Young Thug over that
I
hump.
fuck with Master P.
He got
You're not
NBA
gonna- you're not-
YoungBoy.
you're not gonna
NBA
rape
YoungBoy
me.
is rocking with him right now.
That's cool. Like kudos to them.
But again,
I
listen,
ain't that one.
listen. I'm looking at things
You
from
ain't about
afar.
to. You ain't about to take from me and think that just because you giving me some breaks, no, nigga.
No, but see, this is the thing, though,
No.
Coop. It's like
Don't play
I
that
hear
shit.
what you're saying, but he's clearly still able to function in this business and continue to, break artists.
I don't want to talk about people's like intelligence level, but for somebody like me who's knowledgeable and intelligent, he ain't about to do somebody like me like that. That's why I'm not with
You're
the
look.
shit.
You're looking at the track
Education
record on
and
that.
information. See, should definitely
I
read your
understand what you're
motherfucking
saying,
contract,
Coop.
Hire an attorney.
Coop, I get you. You're looking at
He's
what I'm saying?
worse than Puff.
You're looking at his track record on one end, right? But when we talking about what he's been able to do for artists' career and launching artists over different eras, it's not a lot of people who have that resume to match. From the Hot Boys, what Juvenile was able to do, and what Wayne was able to do, and then obviously you get the Nicki Drake thing. Then you get the NLE Choppers of the world. Then you get the Young Thugs of the world. Then you get NBA Young Boys of the world. I don't think there's anybody who finds talent over different spans of time that we could put over Birdman. Can you at least give him that part of finding the talent
Finding the talent.
and cultivating the talent?
No,
Why? I mean, it's there, and I love Master P.
he cultivated Wayne.
Yeah,
He cultivate these
you
other
don't think
guys.
he cultivated
I think
NBA Young Boy?
First of all, I think this whole new generation that he has is strictly off of Wayne's back and has very little to do with him.
Well, I agree with that to an extent.
So after the Hot Boys and Cash Money, it's like no, I don't count any. How about this? You're counting his shit. I count that as Wayne shit because I'm like, well, if Wayne ain't there, ain't none of them there. Like all of them slew of people you just named, the Nicki, Drake, no, none of them are there. If Wayne
Well, I
don't
think
exist.
Nicki and Drake, obviously, right?
None of them are there.
But what
if Wayne
about
don't
Thug?
exist.
Because Thug
none of-
wasn't really rocking with Wayne like that.
None of them are there if Wayne doesn't exist. As in what he was able to do with Wayne and people's respect for Wayne as an artist and what he became. Because anybody like Mike, he literally went from being maybe the weakest rapper in their group to being one of the greatest rappers of all time. Now, Baby did do that and have something to do with that and put all the things in play to make it succeed. First of all,
Because
Mike,
he went and got Gilly
Mike-
and all those things.
right, Mike, but you want to know why that happened? Because he fucked up with Juvenile and BG.
Yeah,
Right. So this
he-
been a problem. So
he
it's
lost
like,
Manny.
So it's like you lost Juvenile, you lost BG, you lost Manny. So that's 3 losses, but you got Wayne. So it's like I'm gonna give you that, but everything after that is not him. That's Wayne.
How do you think he got Thug then?
The influence of doing what he did for Wayne. That's why I'm saying somebody like Thug can look at what he did for Wayne
Right.
in that transition and be like, no, I'll take that.
But he accomplished that though.
And I'm going to give him that, but I'm not about to put him up on some pedestal because this is a music business and his business practices is fucked up.
All of their business practices are fucked up.
I mean, Mike, there's
So tell me, no.
There's
no,
levels.
No. Since you want to do
There's
that,
levels
since you want to
to
do that,
this.
there's levels to all of it. But if you want to do that, tell me an executive in hip hop that no one has ever had any complaints about.
Scarface had issues with Jay Prince about his publishing once.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, Jay Prince's house, like Scarface built that house, quite frankly. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
straight up.
Straight up. So I'm not saying that there hasn't been. I'm just saying, Mike, there are some people that have been blatantly egregious. And when I look at what he did for Wayne, it's like, well, he did that, but he also took advantage of, Mike, you've heard Infrared.
Yeah.
You've heard idols become rivals. You've been hearing all the back talk for years. So it's like, for me, it's like, well, what you did for Wayne just cancels out how you fucked them over. That don't make you no good boss.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But
like
what
you feel
I-
me what I'm saying? It's
I
like,
guess what I'm
it's like
saying-
you elevated him, but you also fucked him the entire time you were elevating him. That is some fuck ass nigga shit to do to somebody that you call your son.
You know who's in the studio with him now, though?
I don't care.
Lil Uzi. I'm just saying, he's continuously able to bring forth new talent. And of all the people that we've talked about, as far as like the executives from that previous era, they don't really have the ability to launch new acts anymore in the
had
way
their
that Birdman still does for some reason.
But part of the reason how he does it, Mike, is he does it actually like behind the scenes. You get what I'm saying? It's just like, well, nobody really knows that like that. And also too, Mike, it's like not being funny. What is he really doing for these artists?
Again, they become superstars when they rock. Let me
NBA YoungBoy self-sufficient, Mike.
No, but he
was
was no.
from his home.
He wasn't
He's always in legal
self-sufficient
trouble.
until he rocked with Birdman, though. So whatever it is that artists keep, working with him for, it seems to reap benefits. It does. We can't really deny the results. It's not like Birdman will work with somebody and then they just fall off a cliff. Like,
I mean,
NBA YoungBoy rocked with Birdman and became one of the biggest, stars in the
Sorry,
game.
you can't put the knife in my back 7 inches, pull it out 3, call it progress. Fuck all that.
This is the thing, though, and I hear what you're saying, but have you heard NBA YoungBoy say anything bad about Birdman?
Give it time.
I'm just saying.
Give it time.
We can't.
No, what I'm saying is
you
give it
know?
time, because here's why you're saying, have I heard an NBA YoungBoy say something bad about him? No.
Have you heard Thug say anything bad about him?
No, but you know who has? Juvenile, BG.
But you know what?
Manny,
Hold on,
Wayne.
time out.
Give it time,
I hear
Mike.
what you're saying.
Give it time. You
I
know
hear-
who
hold
nobody's
on,
ever said
let me
anything
finish,
bad about?
Coop.
Master P,
Cool.
Mike.
Yeah,
That's
obviously.
a real boss.
Yeah, but cool. I hear what you're saying. The Juvenile thing, what was that, 20 years ago?
Like I said, give it time.
He's done an album with Birdman in recent times.
And he told you that was about business and money.
Yeah.
And not about the relationship.
And Juvenile has gone back to Cash Money various amounts of time.
That's about business. That's
Exactly.
about
But if the
money.
business was so messed up to that degree, he would never go back.
No, you obviously had to do some things to make it right. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
He's the type of boss that will take from you, but also like break your shit open too. Like he'll open up the bank for you, but he'll also take money out the bank. That's not the type of boss that I want when I can just go to Master P and Master P will actually like, how about this? What Master P did for Snoop is leaps and bounds better than what Baby's done for any fucking artist he's ever had, and you know it's the
You're
truth.
talking about-
and Snoop will tell you that.
Coop, you're talking about two different things. I think you're talking about an individual's integrity in relationship to their ability to find new talent. How many new talents has Master P found, let's just say, in a current era?
That's fair.
That's
No, no,
all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
When
Like,
you're saying he found this talent.
and cultivated the
Did
talent.
he find this talent, or was this talent brought to him directly via Lil Wayne and through Lil Wayne's legacy? I don't think he sought out this talent like you did.
He somehow knows who's next, even with Blueface. Like, we can't deny those things. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Young talent seems to find Birdman, or he seems to find them somehow. And I can honestly say nobody in his age bracket specifically seems to be able to do that. And I got to acknowledge that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. Nobody from his era has been able to transcend in that manner. And
They all have legacies. You know what I mean? I'm sure they all could, like we talk about Deion Sanders, they all could go into, somebody's living room and talk about what they've done, the plaques that they've got. But somehow Birdman seems to get these young talents on board and make something out of them.
Well, also too, Mike, most of the people in his position transitioned into other things other than music too. So
Yeah.
let's not make it seem like they tried. No. Like Master P works with James Lindsay, the owner of Rap Sacks, who
Right,
we
of
interviewed
course.
earlier this year. So
Great brother.
Great brother. So some of that you're talking about, well, he's the one that stayed. It's
Exactly.
like, no, Master P does other shit. Puff does other shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because he stayed because I think he understands that he does have a gift in the music
Right.
cultivating process.
mean-
And he's always seen money in music where others kind of was like, okay, it's time to move on from music.
Right. So he might have doubled down on the music hustle, but most of those guys left for other hustles because the music money wasn't enough for what their ambitions were. Look at Jay, look at Puff, look at Russ before he went to Indonesia and whatever the hell is now and started doing yoga all the time. Like, no, these dudes like transitioned out of it because there was more money elsewhere. If he found the money in here, that's fine. That makes him a good businessman in the sense of sourcing out the finances, but that doesn't necessarily make him a good boss in this music business. Like you got.
Well, I think we're talking about two different things, but I understand what you're saying.
No, I think we're talking about the same thing because it's like I think you're talking about it from the perspective
from an A&R perspective is where I'm more so
right,
talking
but he's
about
not
it
an
from.
A&R.
I think he is. I think that we look at Birdman as a music mogul, as we should, but he is clearly a finder of talent of every era.
But Mike, this is what I keep trying to tell you. Did he really find these people? He's not an A&R because you
somehow
can't even,
they linked with him.
But listen to what you keep telling me. You keep telling me somehow, but you're not giving me any sort of explanation to saying that he actually sourced out this talent. Because I don't think he did. Because if he did, there would be stories about it. Like, give you an example.
He let these guys stay with him.
No,
I
like,
mean,
like
yeah.
this is what I mean. There would be some sort of pipeline to it. Like, what's his name?
All these guys have lived
No,
with
no,
Birdman
what's
at
his
some
name?
point.
What's his name? That's what happens when you're from the projects and you don't have money and you're around a rich nigga and you got talent. I ain't trying to hear that
But
shit.
he brought him in.
Mike, I know people like who like, how about this, Mike? Gotti, CMG, had a CMG. He used to sleep on Black Rob's couch.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how it happens sometimes.
Exactly.
That doesn't make you a great businessman.
All I'm saying is the people that seem to sleep in his house seem to become superstars. I mean, it's kind of like with pro athletes, right? They have a lot of, high schools where they take in these kids that are, like you said, coming from certain environments, and a lot of them don't translate to the next level.
What's his name that did the what came out with the Slim Thug?
Already platinum.
Already platinum. So, Mike, he was signed to Star Trek. Mike, there's an actual story, a legitimate story about how when Pharrell went down to Houston, he went to this barbecue, and like literally there were thousands of people there, and they put Slim shit on, and everybody was singing the words to his shit, and Slim was really like the star in the neighborhood, and it was like a legit story about how Pharrell went down to Houston to check for him. Mike, you don't have any of these stories about Baby with any of these artists. That's why I'm telling you, it's like, well, did he source them out? And if so, where is the story? Because when you source out talent on this level, there is always a story about how you source them out. So when you're kicking that, well, somehow he found them, it's like, no, that's why I'm telling you. It's like, no, that sounds more like Wayne to me.
Well, how did he end up being associated with them and not Wayne?
Because Wayne's not a businessman like that. I think time has proven that.
So you think that
Do you have
Young
any? Do
Thug-
you have any story for all these artists that you're talking about that has made his way to him?
So you
get what
think
I'm
that
saying?
Young Thug really wanted to go to Wayne, but the path had to be Birdman?
Okay, so Wayne for his era is what Jay was for the previous era, what Rakim was for a previous era to a lot of people. So the influence and the impact is like that. That's what I'm
Right,
telling you.
of
It's like,
course.
that's not Baby, that's Wayne. And until you can give me some stories that say otherwise, I'm going to take it as that.
Who
Because
got Wayne there though?
we don't. And I just told you, Mike,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give him that for taking Wayne there and making Wayne that type of figure in the history of hip hop
Mm-hmm.
that literally his iconic nature is enough to get a Nicki, to get a Drake, to get somebody years down the line. Like he did do that. He also took advantage of that man in the same breath while he was doing that too. And you have no stories about him really connecting with these other artists like that. I believe I heard something about the NBA YoungBoy thing one time, but the rest of it, Mike, it feel like Wayne to me. It looked like Wayne to me. It looked like Wayne's trajectory. It looks like Wayne's influence. It looked like Wayne's relationship because Wayne does work with everybody.
He does. Free with the super chat says, what stars have been since 2020? Mostly women, labels chasing Cardi money after 2018. Yeah, we could go on and on with this. But, yeah, I thought about that, man. I was like, man, Birdman has been around this game for a minute, man. I was listening to some Hot Boy stuff, and I was thinking about he has a whole lot of success stories under his belt in different generations and different eras, and it's just not a lot of people in the hip-hop sphere outside of like Jimmy Iovine or somebody like that I could actually say that about. You might even have to say a Leor Cohen or something too.
Like, here's what I mean, and he knows what's going on about how people talk about him, like, because he, like, you know, he does videos of stuff that guys that have a point to prove would do. Like, I don't know, take a video camera when BG's getting out so it can make it seem like you're taking care of him because everybody knows you didn't do that shit when Turk got out. Right.
Again, I don't know the intricacies of any of that stuff,
Right.
but I just know the success rate of the individual as a executive.
Mike, you should listen more often.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've heard what people have to say, but I don't have any facts to back it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get into
Mike,
hearsay.
what Turk has said isn't a lie. What Juvie has said isn't a lie. What BG and Manny and these guys have said isn't a lie. What you mean you ain't heard it? Yes, you have. You've heard it out the original Camp's mouth. That's why I'm saying give it time.
Hey.
You've heard it out of Rick Ross's mouth. Has somebody that was like kind of bought into the crew on some crew love shit. Like, yes, you have heard this. You've heard it from.
Why don't you feel like Wayne is vocal about it? Because I think if Wayne,
because he really does look at him like a father figure.
Okay.
He's in the toughest spot a man could ever be in, because it's like, no, in a lot of ways, Baby raised him as a professional and as a man because his real father wasn't there. Like, that's different. And that's really the only pass that I'll give Wayne on it, is like that relationship is different. And it's definitely deeper than rap. And they've probably been through so much together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But outside of that, man, fuck all that.
Hey, man, again, do you think that the Cash Money thing even happens without Birdman, though?
Of course not. $30 million deal with Universal doesn't happen. I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's like, oh no, I'm very mindful about like all the things that have been said about him as a businessman, and those things aren't attached to somebody, quite frankly, in the same damn city. Right up down the road, there's another mogul.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I love what Master P was able to do. He empowered, his.
Made his people go to business classes.
Yeah, he empowered his crew. He empowered everybody that was around. He wanted everybody to win. I didn't love the move with Beats by the Pound and all that. I think that he should have, given them a fair shake, because I think that was kind of the beginning of the end of No Limit in that regard, but I will also acknowledge the fact that, outside of that, window of time, I would say 96 to 98, 99, maybe he just wasn't, in the music business in the way that, Birdman and them were. But as far as finding talent and stuff, I give him Fifth Ward Weebie. I think that was a pretty good find. I think that Soulja Slim, he went to No Limit first, I believe.
Correct.
Currency was with No Limit first.
Correct.
But a lot of that could have been part of the No Limit wave. Fiend was there first, too.
So here's how I feel about it, and this is what I'm saying. Like, the artist should be better off after departing from you from having been with you. And everybody that's been with him hasn't been better since departing from him. And I don't take that a sign of you being a good music business person or a boss, because that means you didn't teach them anything. That's why I bring up the Master P thing with Snoop. Is like, oh, well, what Master P did for Snoop trumps everything that Baby's done. Because Snoop will tell you, I'm the boss that I am today because that man taught me how to be.
No, that's
more
real.
important sometimes than just signing somebody.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Right. And so it's like, yeah, it's like, is he great? It's like, no, but it's, Mike, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, you giving him this because he stuck around? Because that's what
I don't
want
want
to
to say
that's how it
no.
comes off.
It's not just stuck around. Like you're a part of some of the biggest names in every era. Ever since he got put on the map, I would say Juvenile is one of the biggest guys of his era, right?
Yes.
I would say that Wayne is one of the biggest guys of his era.
Yes.
Thug is one of the biggest guys of his era.
Yes.
NBA YoungBoy is one of the biggest guys of his era. And I'm not even counting the Nicki and Drake thing. So, I mean, those are accomplishments.
And I'm not taking any
It
of
is
that
what
away.
it is.
No, I'm not taking any of that away from him.
Yeah.
It just comes with a whole lot.
I think Irv Gotti says something to this regard, too. I mean, it's not.
Irv got niggas paid, though.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about two different things. Like you're talking about something that is like more of a personal mission as opposed to, it's almost like, what's his name, Jerry Krause.
Mike.
He had a terrible relationship with the team and everybody in the Bulls organization outside of Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner. But the job that he did in getting Pippen, trading for Cartwright, scouting out Kukoc, he did a great job.
Well, Mike, here's the
Like,
part.
it is what it is.
Well, here's the part that I think that you're not understanding is that, no, when you're handling people's careers, when you're handling people's money, that's kind of personal, Mike. And so who you are as a person does matter when part of your job is to deal with people, artists, other businesses, radio stations. No, who you are as a person and your business integrity and your morals and your values, they do matter. Because you are handling people's lives.
Where does Universal fit in this mode? Because I think a lot of the times we put that on the individual moguls of the boutique labels, but the distributors, they kind of get in the wind with that. You know what I mean?
They handed him and his brother a check for $30 million. The responsibility belongs to them once they hand him the check. They didn't hand him the check. Universal didn't hand them that original check for $30 million, Mike, to assume liability for the shit. It's to pass the liability along. Here's $30 million. Go make it happen. The responsibility is on him at that point. So it's not on the distributor. That's what they're handing you the check for, so that they don't have to handle the shit or take the liability that comes with it.
Okay.
Because if so, what the fuck is the point of handing you the check if I have to come do checks and balances on that ass?
So it sounds like the black moguls can easily get put in the blame seat where
no, Jimmy Iovine ain't no saint, Mike. What's her name?
Well, Jimmy Iovine's name ain't on death row. It's Suge and Dre. He's in a scope. So any discrepancies people had in that death row situation, ain't nobody hollering at Jimmy about it. Nobody's hollering at Clive Davis about discrepancies they have with Puff.
Right, but Puff took that check from Arista.
Yeah.
Baby and Slim took that check from Universal.
Let me ask you something.
Dre and Suge took that check from Jimmy. So what we not about to do is like reverse racism and say like, oh, the white man absolves himself from this. It's like, nah, they wrote a check on some business shit for you to handle your business.
Well, okay, let me ask you this because I saw Lil Duval post something like this before. Do you think, and especially we're talking about young people, young artists who want to get on and want to get put on, do you think that they would take the money over the fame? Or do you think they would take the fame over the money?
Ooh, that's a scary proposition in today's era.
Because Birdman, honestly, regardless of what, and many of the things you're saying could be factual about Birdman, but what he did do was make these guys famous.
Granted, I think we come from an era, it's like, give me the money. I think things might be a little different now, and so I think that's a 50-50 proposition. Fucking with Birdman, you are going to be famous. But it's like, for me, and this is how it feels to me, well, you're promising both, and you're really only delivering on one in full. Because don't tell me that he's not promising these young black men that come from impoverished circumstances that he's not about to make them rich. Don't tell me that he's not doing that.
I don't know how rich they are or aren't.
That's what
even.
Every music executive does.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people do also.
I'm going to make you rich and famous.
Yeah. AB Studios with the Super Chat says, how you feel about Puff giving back publishing? Who will follow? Yeah.
And Puff played for Black Rob's funeral. That's what I'm saying. Is like no, like he don't even look like Puff. Right.
Well, the story came out that I think Cam was saying something about Mace getting his publishing back, and this is literally right after Cam and Mace signed their new deal or whatnot. And congratulations to them because I think they have a great show and it's well deserved. And so after that story, it seemed to be another story coming out saying that Puff's giving back all the publishing to all his artists, and I'm like, well, it's kind of coincidental. Mace just got a check and he got his publishing, sounds like to me. But so I don't know. Again, when those parts of the industry come out, I don't really even like reporting on it too much because I'm sure we don't know the real details. We don't know the truth. People don't really put out the real information when it comes to stuff like that. So we can kind of only go off of hearsay.
I mean, also too, okay. So let's just juxtapose this and leave it right here because we got to go soon anyway.
Yeah.
Puff. I don't do that Diddy shit. It's named Puff to me. He's enabled to even be able to do that financially because he's ventured outside of this realm of hip hop and made himself so much money as a hip hop brand and spokesman outside of the core of hip hop and hip hop music. You understand what I'm saying? That probably at his age and at this stage in the game, he has so many checks coming in from so many different things he's been a part of that he can start giving the artists that he took advantage of a reprieve and hand them their publishing back. But for the guy that you're talking about who's chosen to stay in music and who lives on this for his survival and way of doing it, do you think he's going to do that? No, because he hasn't ventured off into enough other things and getting checks from other places that he'll ever do that for his artist in my estimation. Because if so, he would have did it for the one who deserved it the most. And that's Wayne. And
Wayne put Cash Money on his back.
And if it hasn't happened for Wayne, Mike, what makes you think it's about to happen for anybody else when he calls that man his son?
I think the only thing, like I said, and I agree with many of the things that you're saying.
I hear where you're coming from,
But the fact
too.
that artists keep coming to him for whatever reason, I don't know what's being discussed.
No, I'll tell you what, this is one of your better devil's advocates topics that you've given because you're saying some very, very valid things. His resume is glorious.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything around the resume leaves it like really shrouded to me.
Because we've even seen when it comes to Puff, right?
Like you heard
the
some shit about this at Top Dog with CTE? Have you heard shit like this about Top?
Well, see, this is the thing. We've always heard this stuff, and again, I don't know how valid or whatever, because again, people say what they say about Puff, and I think it's affected.
No, some of that shit real.
I think it's affected Puff's ability to get new artists, though.
Hell yeah.
It hasn't affected Birdman's ability.
And that's why I'm telling
so.
you it's Wayne.
But I don't know about that either. Like, I don't know, man.
Like the way that this game goes, when something happens to you like this, artists don't gravitate towards you unless they have a reason to. I'm telling you, Wayne's the reason. Like.
But if him and Wayne aren't good, then how is Wayne the reason?
But look at when all these guys got signed. That's why I'm saying, no, most of these guys are inking these deals when him and Wayne are good.
Not NBA Youngboy.
That's why I said, Mike, I'm not so certain. I was like, and I told you, I was like, I think I heard something directly about him and NBA Youngboy, so I'll give you that. But the rest of the shit, Wayne to me. Because when you do this as an artist, like it hurts you. Like it hurt Suge that Dre left, like as much as he didn't want to admit it. That's why he doubled.
Of course.
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah. If Jay Prince having a problem with Scarface, no, that hurts in the town.
CJ
You know
Kid with the super chat says, the chat saying the Big is still signed to Puff. Damn. Esquire with the super chat says, what are your top 5 non-Ye/Jay Rockefeller albums? I think Philadelphia Freeway is a really dope album, but I'm going to go The Becoming. Probably is my number one. And it might be The Truth.
Is The Becoming on Rockefeller?
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's on Dame Dash Music. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The Becoming's not on Rockefeller. I think I might go Philadelphia Freeway.
I think The Truth is better, but
I was going to go The Truth after that, but you know what? Purple Haze, Come Home With Me.
Is Purple Haze Rockefeller?
It might not be.
Come
Home With Me is Rockefeller. I know that.
So The Truth, Philadelphia Freeway, Come Home With Me. I'm going to say Streets is Watching soundtrack.
Oh, man, you got to go to soundtracks?
I do.
This is way more difficult than I thought.
Said no yay, no Jay.
You're right. I know we got to get out of
Memphis
here in a
Bleak,
minute.
The Understanding?
Nah. Not a big fan of that one. What did you think about the Chris and Neef album,
It was cool.
Young Guns? Yeah. Santana stuff is Diplomats.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Jay was the label, man.
Yeah, and then Ye was the label. That's pretty much what it
Should have
was.
gave Siegel those blueprint beats. We wouldn't be having this problem.
Facts.
Anyway,
We're talking some of the best featured appearances.
yes.
I came across this post. They were talking about Twista's appearance on Do or Die's Po Pimp.
I saw that too.
And I thought about the fact that obviously it's a scene stiller. It's a career-making, featured appearance as well. I remember when I first heard Po Pimp, I thought Twista was in the group.
Me too.
And I remember going to the Sam Goody or whatever, looking on the back, and it said featuring Twista. And I'm like, well, if this is featured, I'm not going to buy this album. I thought I was ready to buy it.
I still bought the album. The album was dope.
Yeah, the album was dope. But I wanted to hear the guy that was on there on all the songs. And so I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, when you think about everything involved, how many featured appearances could I really say are better than Twista's featured appearance on Do or Die's Po Pimp?
You know, I think we need to not look at this like for the verse on the lyrical level, or
Right,
not even
right.
for the star power. I think we need to talk about the career-defining moment of it. 'Cause
Right.
I think that's what you were truly trying to get through with the question. Is like, what's the best career-defining guest verse? I think that's what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
And so Twisters is up there. AZ's Life's a Bitch is still up there because he literally got a whole record deal and ended up making a platinum album and a platinum single the following year off of one verse.
Busta Scenario.
I can't say that because
It's not career defining?
no, because Busta's debut album didn't come out till 5 years after that.
Okay.
And I think Woo Ha is and Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See is the moment for him.
Okay.
Actually, I think AZ's moment is still Life's a Bitch. I think Twista's moment is still the verse on Do or Die's Po Pimp, and that's how I look at it.
I think Twista has another moment. I think Slow Jams,
Oh,
man.
Mike, I knew you were gonna say
I think
that.
Slow
Mike,
Jams,
stop that. Oh my
Slow
God.
Jams made
You
3
gotta stop.
careers.
You gotta stop with the Kanye shit.
Jamie
Mike.
Foxx, Ye, and
Oh.
Twista.
You're getting on my nerves with this Kanye shit.
Slow
Slow
Ja-
Jams ain't like that, Mike. It's
Slow
not even,
Jams ain't like
It's not even
that?
a top 5 song on that album, Mike.
It's a great album.
I don't care.
It might still be a top 5
You
song.
talking
on that
about
album.
you talking about a song that's not even a top 5 song on the album on an album. Talking about the guest appearances, career defining. No, Mike.
It is career defining.
Maybe for Jamie
No.
Foxx as a
Jamie
music
Foxx
artist.
and Twista. It revamped Twista, did it not? How did we get Overnight Celebrity? How did we get Kamikaze? Because of that record. He got a new deal after that record. He actually was supposed to be signing with Rockefeller until that shit came out. And then, you know what I'm saying, his label was like, yeah, no, we're not giving him up. Is that your chick didn't do that for him? Let's keep it real.
You're just so wrong, Mike. You just want you'll bring up Kanye any way that you can.
I mean, he's super impactful.
Slow Jams isn't.
It is. Am I wrong out here? I mean, for the people in the
Please
chat.
tell him he's wrong.
You know, I want to see people say wrong or right in the chat. Am I wrong for what I'm saying? Who's right or wrong? It was a huge record.
I hate all of y'all.
If people are saying facts, Mike, all right, if Mike is wrong in the chat, I want y'all to say wrong. If I'm right, say right.
See, for me, the real coming out party on that album is Common on Get 'Em High.
Oh, now you want to big up Get 'Em High with
No,
it,
no,
man.
no,
You
no,
were
no,
just
Mike.
dissing that
no,
record.
no, I wasn't, Mike. No, Mike.
You said Get 'Em High isn't like that. That's your quote.
So, Mike, don't misquote me since you want to play those games.
You did
What I
say-
said was, outside of Common's verse, Get 'Em High ain't like that.
I don't remember you saying.
Go back and run tape.
Okay, I'll go back and run the
And
tape.
so, if you want to talk about a coming out party,
Looks like people saying I'm right in here.
the
people, they don't
you know how I
matter.
feel about the people. Listen to what I'm saying. Hold on, Mike. Who had a better career post that album, Common or Twista? The end. The end. So
Well,
all of y'all with that slow jam shit, tell me.
listen.
Hold on. If Twista, if that's
Time out.
hold on. If that changed Twista's life,
Time out.
what did that verse do for Common? Because
Who?
Twista damn sure didn't make no B, and he didn't make Finding Forever with Kanye. Kanye executive produced Common's next 2 albums, and Common became a way bigger star than Twista could ever imagine to be. They're both from the same city. So the answer just for that album is Common, and that's why that Twista shit don't count.
Can I
Mike.
speak real
This
quick?
some bullshit.
Can I speak real quick?
Cut off the tape.
Can I speak real quick? Because it wasn't about Get 'Em High. You know that, right? The reason why Common's career went the way it did is because he was signed to Kanye moving forward. Twista was not. So I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Even the
because
review of
Kanye-
the college
no,
dropout called Common's
'cause
verse a coming out party.
Yeah, but you
Even
know
the
what?
review, not
You know what
Twista's
followed
verse.
that? You know what followed that? The Food on the Dave Chappelle show, and then Kanye making B, and then Kanye making Finding Forever.
So you
Got-
asked
no.
how we get overnight celebrity. How'd
Yeah.
we get B?
Yeah.
What's bigger, overnight celebrity and Kamikaze or B?
You're talking about one song versus one album.
I said B or Kamikaze.
Yeah, because Kanye didn't do Kamikaze. He just did Overnight Celebrity.
Thank you. So when you're talking about this big coming out party, it's Common, really, right? Because all the evidence says it's Common.
It's because everything after it. I think in
What
the
happened to
moment.
Twister after it?
So you're telling me to Get 'Em High is a bigger song than Slow Jams? That's
No,
dishonest.
I didn't say it's a bigger song because it's not. I said coming out party for who on that album is Common, not Twister, because look at what happened to Common's career versus Twister's career.
CJ Kidd with the super chat says, "Nah, Coop, Mike is right. For my generation, we learned about Twister was on Slow Jam. Never heard of Twister before that. Go ahead and roast me, Coop." Mad Max with the super chat says,
don't
"The
know
answer
anything.
is Snoop, bro. It's not even debatable."
That's actually what I was about to say, Mike. For me, it's Snoop on Deep Cover. So this is the first time in life I agree with Mad Max. It's Snoop on
I
Deep Cover.
thought I
for
was
me.
gonna say G thing.
That's not the coming out.
Does it count though when you wrote the song? I mean, Snoop did write Deep Cover, right?
Shit, Twister probably wrote slow jams, Mike.
Yeah, come on, man. You think he wrote?
I think
the
Twister can write anything the way you're talking
dark
about him,
skinned
Mike.
friend
The way
look
you're
like
talking
Michael
about-
Jackson.
Mike, the way you talking
Come
about
on, man.
the way you talking about Twister and Twister's career in Kamikaze, it's like maybe I'm missing something, Mike. But Overnight Celebrity and Kamikaze was a moment. Common had a whole career after that. So it's
Overnight
definitely
Celebrity
Common.
was a moment. The album Kamikaze wasn't a moment.
That's what
How
I'm
many
saying.
songs did Kanye produce on Kamikaze?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't
certain.
think many.
I think he did 3. I want to say memory says he did 2 or 3 for
Yeah,
good.
but see, when Kanye got Common's career and told him to take off those clothes and put on a damn, you know what I'm saying, Kango hat, and you know what I'm saying, wear some suitable clothing, his whole career changed. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole
And
career
that
changed.
started on Get 'Em High.
Yeah,
started right there,
Started on Get 'Em High,
So
but
that's the coming out.
Kanye took the reins and said, "You know what, man? Take all of that Erykah Badu shit off. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go out here. We're going to change your image up real quick. We're going to make it where you can get in movies. We can make it where, you know what I'm saying, you can be used by politicians and go out there and get people to vote. We're going to make you
Mike,
a whole
miss me
new
with
thing."
that other shit.
That's what happened.
And Mike, the way history is going to read it, Mike, if you weren't familiar with Common or Twister before the college dropout, Mike, afterwards you're more familiar with Common than you are with Twister, and that makes that appearance bigger. And that's the end of it. You can get into the nuance of all of it, Mike. People that weren't there aren't going to remember that. They're going to remember that they know Common and don't know Twister like that, and you know it.
I
You
don't
tried-
think,
you
no.
tried, Mike. It was
I
fair.
don't think people who weren't there even remember Get 'Em High. I don't. It's not one of the most memorable records on College Dropout. I like the record. You said it yourself. The song ain't like that.
Outside of Common's verse song ain't like that. Quote me. Ron, you got to run tape. We got to
Uncle
get my
Fran
quotes
with the
right.
$20 super chat showing love. He says, the Beat Nuts off the books put pun on. Shout out to that one. I like that pick.
He's a Beat Nuts fan, though. That's a Homer ass pick.
I am a Beat Nuts fan.
No,
and
I'm talking about
Uncle Fran
I'm talking about
probably
Uncle
is
Fran.
too.
No, Uncle Fran's a big Beat Nuts
He's
fan. That's what I'm
Dominican,
saying.
right?
Right.
Yeah. Now I rock with the Dominicans.
He just big up in his tribe, and I dig that. It's Snoop on Deep Cover, Mike.
Creep with me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Snoop because Snoop did something to you that hadn't been done before. It's like, because the first time you hear Snoop, you're like, who is that? It's like, hold on. It's like, who the fuck is that? Be like, this motherfucker's smooth. It's like, but he's gangster. It's like, I've never heard this voice before. I've never heard this delivery before. It's Snoop on Deep Cover.
What about Eminem on Forgot About Dre?
It's time to end the show.
I'm just asking questions.
No, you bringing up Kanye.
I'm just asking questions.
talking
I
shit
can't
about
ask
Eminem.
questions on a Labor Day.
People like I'm cooping. It's like, no, Mike is sitting up here dragging Kanye's name into a conversation he doesn't belong in. You bringing up Eminem, Forgot About Dre to be petty.
No, I was asking.
Petty.
Is that kind of his introduction to a certain extent? No, I mean he already has some stuff out.
Yes, Mike. He had already sold 3 or 4 million records by then.
Triple Platinum doing 50 a week.
I believe that's how Still DRE goes.
Yeah,
Triple
John
Platinum doing
Phillips.
50 a week.
John Phillips with the super chat
Disrespectful.
says
This shit is wild.
DMX on 4-3-2-1 over everybody. Now this is what I will say.
Told you? What have I told you about that verse?
Yeah,
I told
have.
you.
This is what I will say. DMX on Money, Power, and Respect. Now I know when I heard that, I became an instant fan. I'm like, who is this guy? Who's this guy on the roof rapping with the money falling down and shit?
I told you, I'd never forget when I heard 4-3-2-1. My boy Mike Hubbard. Mike still watches the show to this day. Shout out to Hubbard.
Shout out to Mike Hubbard.
Yeah, remember I did the show from his garage. One year in Charlotte. Right. I remember when Hub came back to me. He's like, "Man, you heard Cannabis verses on 4-3-2-1?" I was like,
"That was me."
I was like, I don't care about that goddamn verse. I was like, "Do you hear the other guy?" He's like, "DMX." I was like, "That dude's a star." I was like, "His album's about to be great." Mike laughed at me. He's like, "You're bugging."
I didn't love X's verse on there
we're
at the
gonna
time.
See.
Because of the people that were on it, I think, and he was new, and I wasn't as familiar. But when it came to Money, Power, and Respect, though, I didn't need to be sold anything. Like, it says a beat that I could freak, it just dropped the real. What's his up? Ill. My niggas know my skill. X is the real. Hit him up.
Get him up.
Yeah, like.
Set him up.
You do dirt,
you
get dirt. Trick, click, step back like I work. This ain't no fucking game. Think I'm playing. See you laying.
Back in the trunk, yard, the can.
Mom's at home praying. Coming home, but you're not. Yeah, it was something different about him.
Starting to rot.
And this is after Jadakiss just spit like one of the verses of his career, in my opinion.
It's the best verse of his career up to that point,
At that point, yeah.
Yeah.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, what about Nas on Live at the Barbecue?
I think that's an easy pick.
LP with the super chat says, Nas, Live at the Barbecue.
See, how about this?
I don't know. I mean, I like the verse. I love the verse. But
No. How about this? Like, nobody had heard, like, I think that was the first verse you had heard somebody talk like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing about it. Like, Live at the Barbecue, and I thought about Live at the Barbecue, but it doesn't translate like Deep Cover, Mike. It's not Deep Cover. Nothing is Snoop on Deep Cover to me, because it's like, I didn't even know that, like, you could, like, get a guest rapper, like, for a whole song like that. It's like 91, Mike.
That's true.
I'm 10 years old. I'm like, who the fuck is...
Breakthrough moments like that.
I'm like, who the fuck is this guy with Dr. Dre?
Is that the first time they really introduced the new guy in that way?
I feel like it might.
It might be, man.
That's
Dr.
what I'm
Dre.
saying.
Listen, man, I give Dr. Dre credit, man. Dr. Dre is so
innovative,
innovative and transitional in so many different ways, in ways that we don't even think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that became a mantra where people would introduce an artist through a feature.
It's Snoop on Deep Cover, Mike.
And yeah, Snoop and Dre did that.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, Nas is better on Live at the Barbecue than Snoop is on Deep Cover, but y'all are looking at the lyrics. Y'all talking about the verse. I'm talking about like what that shit mean. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. Illmatic means more than, you know what I'm saying?
Than what?
Than the Live at the Barbecue verse. You know what I'm saying?
I thought you were going to say than Doggy Style.
No, comparable for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Same level, different rationales. But
I think Doggy Style might mean more.
It depends on which way you're looking at it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, depending on the lens of it. But for me, it came down to Nas and Snoop in my mind. So it was Live at the Barbecue and Deep Cover. But I'm taking Deep Cover. And then you get into fucking talking to Glove and he's breaking down the story. Because here's the thing about it, and this is what I'm saying. When you hear Live at the Barbecue, you know Nas is about to be one of the greatest MCs ever. But you don't know if he's a star. When I heard Deep Cover, I was literally like, who is that? He's a star. He's a star. I'm gravitating to, you know, the gravitational pull is different. You know what I'm saying?
Road Runner Gang with the super chat. Not to interrupt you, says Lil Wayne, we taking over verse off DJ Khaled. I love how this generation loves that. That's awesome.
You see how this generation loves Wayne, though?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So don't kick that baby shit to me. It's like, no, that's Wayne.
I mean, again, though, the people who are big fans of Wayne in that way understand the discrepancies that he's had with Birdman as well. So even with all of that going on, they still somehow end up with him. You know what I mean? It's like if me being a Michael Jordan fan that I am, and he didn't fuck with Jerry Krause, but I know Jerry Krause does a good job, and somehow I end up with, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's I mean, Birdman is good at something. I will say that.
What I'm saying is that, like, no. You can accept and respect Jerry Krause all you want. Give me Jerry West. Right.
You think Jerry West put together the teams in the way that Jerry Krause did?
He put together the Golden State team. He put together the early Laker teams and gave the team over to Pat Riley. Yes, he has. He put together the playoff Clipper teams that actually were good.
He drafted Kobe Bryant from high school.
He definitely heisted my Charlotte Hornets at the time for Kobe Bryant, for fucking Vlade Divac and, like, some fucking animal crackers or some shit.
Another big trade he did too. He was, Actually, he
The
was
Paul Gasol
over.
trade?
Oh, I wasn't even going to talk about that. I'm
That's
talking
what I
about the
mean.
Boston thing because he was actually in Minnesota when Garnett ended up over in Boston.
That was a Kevin McHale thing mostly.
Yeah, that was Kevin McHale.
That's
I'm
Kevin
tripping.
McHale.
You're right.
That's
Yeah, that was Kevin McHale.
Kevin McHale wanted to
Because he
send
was looking
KG.
out for Boston. Yeah, that's what that was.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, let me go ahead and give my team a ring.
yeah, that was Kevin McHale.
That was Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale and Danny Ainge.
Um,
Two friends getting on the phone and talking because remember Danny Ainge had taken over the organization, so they obviously played on the '86 championship team together.
Definitely.
So that's how that happened.
Coincidence.
But right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, Mike, don't give me Jerry Krause over Jerry West. Give me Jerry West.
Yeah, Jerry West does have the rest.
Jerry
of
West
it.
helped build the Golden State team. Jerry West had something to do with Kevin Durant making his way to Golden State. He had something to do with the Chris Paul Clipper team. He had something to do with the Magic Johnson Laker teams. He had
Yeah.
something to do with the Kobe Laker teams.
Yeah, he's one of the best executives ever, if
He's
not the best.
He's the
Yeah.
best. He's the best NBA executive ever.
Yeah. When's the last time that we got one of those transitional moments in hip hop through a feature, you think? Since we don't want to be living in yesteryear and 30-something years ago.
That's what I mean about that control verse from Kendrick, because that's where people will go to, and it's like there ain't nothing transitional about
He was
that.
already established at that point.
Right. So like hearing somebody and you're like, ooh, this where the game going?
Mm-hmm. And who is this? And you know what? I got one.
See, this is why it's deep cover too, and this is what I mean. This is why it's deep cover over live at the barbecue too, is because you do get the Chronic the following year, and so there's more instant validation that comes from Snoop's appearance than Nas's appearance, because it's like what you get from Nas is halftime, and then you wait 2 years for Illmatic after halftime. It's like no, you got deep cover, and the Chronic is like within a year, and that's Snoop. Like
What
he
do
said,
you What
me
do
and
you
DLC
think
wrote the
about?
Chronic.
What do you think? My bad. What do you think about Lil Uzi on Bad and Bougie?
That crossed my mind, Mike. That might be it. That might be it.
To some degree, you could say Offset too. As an individual.
Right, because he was fresh out.
And I mean, I think that we looked at the Migos as kind of like one unit, but as far as him propelling to, having his individual star power, I think that song could be a part of that too. Because that Offset, woo, that made him a star.
Yeah, it did.
So, yeah, I think that's one of the last times that we saw that. We're not really getting a lot of collaborative efforts
I'm
anymore.
going to give you the Uzi thing more than the Offset
I
thing
understand that because,
Uzi's-
he didn't have anything at that point.
And Uzi's just a bigger star.
He is.
Yes.
I mean, he's a solo act, and
Yes.
he's actually done
Yes.
that. And I think before Bad
Well, his
and
star
Bougie,
power is not attached to anybody, Mike. It's his
Right.
star power.
Exactly. And I remember when Uzi made that cover on the XXL cover. Seems to keep coming up in this show. Ebro and all of them were going hard and heavy on him. Pause.
I mean, see, just for me, this is what I mean about how he gets into some local shit. It's like I remember hearing Thug on Peanut Butter and Jelly, and
Right.
that's my moment for me about like a guest appearance from somebody new from this area. Because I remember hearing him on Peanut Butter and Jelly. It's like I don't know what he's doing.
Right.
I was like, but I know that I actually like it secretly, and that it's working for me, which probably means it's working for like all.
Well,
yeah,
I felt like that about Future on Racks on Racks.
I can see
But
that
all
too.
of that's before what, Uzi
Yeah.
did on Bad and
That's
Bougie.
what I mean. It's like I'm trying to think about what Thug did before Peanut Butter and Jelly, where I was like, but I think that was the moment. Like for me, on a personal level, that was the moment where I heard somebody from this era where I was like, oh, yeah.
Before
'Cause I
Bad
felt-
and Bougie,
'cause
though.
I felt like he made that record. I like Tip and Dro are on the record and they're stunting, but I feel like that record's not that record without Thug. It feels like Thug's record to me and his concept.
Before Bad and Bougie, and I feel like that about Future on Racks too.
I do too.
But before Bad and Bougie, though, Lil Uzi wasn't getting a lot of love from like the mainstream pugnates. I remember he would be on Hot 97.
He's still
and,
not really, but
and Ebro, he would go out there and say like he wasn't listening to Biggie. I think Ebro tried to play him a DJ Premier beat and have him freestyle on it. He was like, I don't like these beats. You know what I'm
we
saying?
talked about it and we clowned him for
Yeah,
it, Mike,
and
and we should because
exactly.
you're still an MC.
He said, I don't rap on those kind of beats or whatever. And that appearance on Bad and Bougie, I think, changed the trajectory of everything for him as an artist. And he followed up with music. So, yeah, that could be the last moment that was like that. And that was, 2016?
No,
15?
no,
I think it was 16.
14.
No, that wasn't 14.
15? 15.
Yeah, I think it's 16.
It's 15.
Let's see.
Bad and Bougie's 15, I feel like.
Nah.
Because I feel like my girls are like 6 and 7 or 7 and 8.
No, I think Bad and Bougie is 16. I think Culture 1 came out in 17.
Really?
But I think it was around this time. Yeah.
2016, Culture 2016?
No,
Okay.
Bad and Bougie's 2016.
Was Culture 2017?
Yeah. think it was that January. Yep.
Okay, right.
So,
It had to have been early.
Yeah, it was
Right.
early in the year. But yeah, man, I think that might have been the last time that happened, and that was 2016. So we're talking about 7 whole years. Man, I don't know. The game's in a flux right now. And all of this came from just a question of asking about the 2023 yearbook.
See, this is what I mean. And there are great guest appearances. That don't mean they're transitional. Like, I just thought about something. I remember the first time I heard Beanie Siegel, which is on Crew Love on the Belly soundtrack.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy's a monster. I was like,
Yeah.
like my head was blown. I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yep.
I was like, Jay got this guy. I was like, trouble.
Yeah.
Trouble. Because no, for me, when I heard Beans on Crew Love, I was like, nobody has a number 2 that good that I've ever heard. Like, that was my immediate thought about him. I was like, nobody's had a number 2 this good.
Well, you know what? When I heard Skis and Love on Conway's, what was it, Deluxe?
Yeah.
I said the same thing. I was like, yo, these guys are spitting. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
No,
so yeah.
like, no disrespect to Love or Skis, but like Siegel on Crew Love, like that was just like nobody as great as Jay had ever found somebody that great. No
Yeah.
bullshit. That's like Rakim finding like, you know,
Cool G-Rap or something. Like,
something comparable to. I
Yeah.
consider Ra and G-Rap to be on the same level. Like Siegel's not quite Jay level, but pretty damn close to me.
Beanie Siegel's great, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. How about this? It's like Rakim finding Jada Kiss. It's like, hold on, what?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
I mean, when you think about it, Rockefeller having Siegel, a talent like him, a talent like Kanye, and a talent like Cam.
They were all in the same room. at
What a
once.
movement. What a movement.
Actually, Mike, you want to know what? That makes me feel like that's a disappointment. You had Kanye, Siegel, Cam, and Jay all around the same time, and this is what I mean about how, like, you know, egos, money, pride. It's like, oh no, y'all should have made way more classic shit than you made.
It all was happening so fast. Maybe they thought they had more time than they
It
did.
usually does, Mike.
Yeah.
Just even think about the Kanye records that the Siegel, Scarface Kanye records. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting the fact that they could have signed even more free agents like, you know, MOP if that would have went down, if the Twister thing would have went down. And let's just say somehow they could have got Scarface along for a ride. Yeah. And on that note.
What if they would have signed Big L before he died?
Oh, that too. Yeah. And on that note, I guess we should get up out of here, man.
Yeah, you actually want to do no work on Labor Day?
Yeah.
Starting right now?
Go chill, get some barbecue and all of that.
No, I might pull up to Piedmont Park today.
There it is. All right. Well, A2HH Live. We're about to get up out of here. Hit that
There's a birthday party in Piedmont Park today,
pause.
and y'all
right.
need to grow up. Right.
Hit like and subscribe. Appreciate everybody being a part of the show. We're going to holler at y'all Wednesday. Have a happy Labor Day. A2HH out. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Ooh, somebody just said Conway on the cow. We missed that.
Conway on the cow. I like that.